Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fundamentalist Fails. It is Mark Reed. You are with me, my fine fellow heathens. We've got a great show for you today because it is Matt Powell. When you think about real dumbasses online, a few names come to mind. You know, Kent Hovind, Spring, Andrew Wilson. You know, there's a few names that really spring out there. Ken Ham, but I think they are left in completely in the dust as far as complete dumbassery is concerned. And the man to do it is definitely Matt Powell. Now, Matt Powell is associated with Kent Hovind, or he was at some point. He seems to have sort of something happened between the two of him. Personally, my personal opinion is maybe, maybe Matt Powell got a case of the gays or something. I don't know. All right, I'm just look. I totally support him. He does look a bit twinkish, but in some way he departed from Kent Hovind, has not been seen with him since. I don't know what happened there. I am joking. I don't know what happened. He was like Kent Hovind's best friend, and then he left. So Kent Hovind had to find Donnie, basically, is what I'm joking. I'm joking. Standing for Truth, of course, is now Kent Hovind's best friend, and now doesn't seem associated with him that much either. So, yeah. That is correct, Jedi. Yes, that is one of the claims that Matt Powell made. The sun couldn't burn because there wasn't oxygen in space. Maybe it would not surprise me. As far as I know, like that sounds suspiciously like a flat earther thing to say. I know that he's not a flat earther and he condemns flat earthers everywhere. Now, for this one, I do have to put out a warning that you're going to see somebody say some stupid things and maybe also some bigoted things because it is Matt Powell. Matt Powell in the past has suggested that perhaps we ought to have some form of capital punishment for trans people, for instance. Or, people that don't believe in God. Some kind of arrest/imprisonment situation. He really is. And this is the thing. I think that out of all of them, Powell is one of those people that is... he doesn't seem as bad as he is. But when you actually delve into what he actually believes and, sort of his whole political stance, it is appalling. It is absolutely appalling. So make no mistake, we're going to be laughing at this guy, but at the same time, please be aware that he is a horrible human being. He suggests the most horrible stuff. And he is absolutely atrocious. He is an atrocious human being with no respect for other people if they're not Christian. Because he's sort of, he's so confidently wrong about almost everything he talks about. He is sort of cannon fodder for a show like this. Now, the other warning that I have to give, so if you are feeling, hey, I don't really want to hear this piece of shit, fair enough. I totally understand. Maybe catch you up in the next one. But, he's talking about Satanism today, which you would expect. I mean, how can you be bigoted against minorities when you're talking about Satanism? Isn't Satanism just a religion? Isn't it just an ideology that, you can criticize? Well, just wait. Just wait. The other thing is that Matt Powell doesn't know how to operate a microphone, and so there is some noise at the start. And I want to caution you with this. Like, it is pretty horrific at the start. I didn't cut it out so much. I really left it in to show you just how bad this man is with any kind of technical ability. Like I said, he was a minion of Kent Hovind, who cannot seem to manage to find his technical advisor, and without somebody holding his hand, he can't seem to do, well, anything really. So the name of this video is Why Satanism is Not Good for Kids. And I'll turn the volume down so we don't get blasted at the start, because he really, you know, I'm not sure what happened, but he really, so just be aware, this isn't my video that's gone horrifically wrong. It's his video, okay? I had nothing to do with this, peeps. I had nothing to do with this travesty. So just be aware of that. It's not me. It's not you. It's him, okay? It's definitely this guy. Just to start off with, so this is why Satanism is bad for kids, and he's really talking about Satan Club, basically, which is a really good idea. It's basically a religious club, but they really do focus on secular, sort of having a secular side of things in schools, so that all of the people that don't want to go to Christian clubs do have a place to go, which I think is actually a wonderful idea. I think it's a really good idea. And they get to sort of say, hey, this is what we promote in our religion. Because, so that's run by the Satanic Temple. And you'll quickly run into where Matt Powell doesn't have a clue about what he's talking about. You quickly will find that out. But the Satanic Temple run it, and it really is just a, well, the Christian clubs can be very judgmental. They can be very elitist. They can sort of alienate a lot of children in the school that aren't necessarily welcome, or get sort of rejected by the Christians for not being usual. And I think having a place for other children who aren't part of that world is a really good place. Presumably, so yeah, I get you, Purple. I completely agree. I completely agree. You know, it is, I kind of mock him for technical issues, but I've had plenty of technical issues myself, so I totally understand. Yep, absolutely. I'm with you, 100% with you, and it's a very good call. Satanism is humanism for people like, well, yeah, essentially. But there are two schools of it. There was sort of a schism between the two, between the Satanic Temple and the Church of Satan. Okay, there's two schools of it. And yeah, that's what it's for, Jinx. That's essentially what it's for, mate. Presumably, maybe he's living out of somebody's garage. I don't know. I wish him all the best if he is, because, man, that would suck. But I don't know. It's kind of weird. He's sort of wearing a military style thing. It's kind of weird. But let's find out what Matt Powell has to say about why Satanism is not good for kids. Yeah, that's not you. That's not me. That's him and his microphone. I'm going to turn it down a bit more.
Alrighty, so it looks like we're live. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt Powell. I run this YouTube channel called Matt Powell Official.
Don't worry, it does go away after a tiny little bit. So it's not going to be the whole video. Trust me. Like, I wouldn't lie to you about that. But it is, you know, really bad to start off the video like that. But yeah, let's see what Matt Powell's got to say.
It has been years since I've gone live here on YouTube, so I don't know how this is going to go. I actually have Starlink internet, and I don't know if it's going to kind of cut out or not. So I guess we'll find out during the stream. But if you have any questions, feel free to throw them.
Oh, he's in debt to the horrible Elon Musk. Elon Musk. He's you know, you're giving money to Elon Musk. How could you, Powell? How could you? Starlink. Okay, so for those who are interested, Starlink is it is basically a satellite internet, right? So there's various forms of internet. There's fiber. There's, you know, the old ADSL, which used copper infrastructure. This is satellite technology that Elon Musk has a number of satellites up there. Satellite internet is awful. It's terrible. Who would have thought that bouncing a signal into orbit and then back to Earth isn't the most optimal way to carry signal. Just saying. It's fine for most applications, not for anything that is time sensitive, like basically anything that requires reaction time. So things like gaming, Starlink sucks for, because the latency, it takes time to bounce it off the satellite and back. It kind of sucks. But yeah.
In the live chat, I'll try to get to those. And today I just wanted to talk to you guys about the satanic movement and the fact that
give us your vast knowledge, Matt, of the satanic movement. I bet you, like, this is the thing. He doesn't know a thing about it. Okay, just spoiler alert. He knows nothing about it, like nothing. It's actually incredible.
A lot of public schools out there. Unfortunately, Satan Club has become very popular, and this video is actually a warning to.
Yeah, it's become incredibly popular. Yes. It's almost like if you offer a club that is non-judgmental and accepts people for who they are, children will be attracted to it rather than the incredibly judgmental and horrible Christian club where kids are told that they'll never be good enough, so they need Jesus. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Absolutely shocked.
People in the public school system to watch for Satan Con and these satanic events that are coming to our school system. You may look at it as being an innocent thing to just enjoy satanic gathering, but some of the stuff in the Satanic Bible is extremely vile.
Okay, does anyone spot his first problem? Right, he's saying, oh, it might be fun to go to gatherings where you have community. Yeah, that's mostly what they're for. Right, but then he references the Satanic Bible. And hey, spoiler alert, I busted out my wife's copy, because this is my wife's copy of a mirrored. Why? Okay, so I'm mirrored at the moment, which is kind of hilarious. Let me see. I'm mirrored at the moment, so the Satanic Bible. Okay, this is the Satanic Bible, right? Like, this is it. I've read it. It's an interesting read. It's an interesting read, but the very first thing that you may notice, if you are aware of Satanism and how it works, is that the Satanic Temple do not endorse Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible. Okay, that's the Church of Satan. So you've got two main denominations, if you will, of Satanism, right? You have the Satanic Temple, who are more secular, and it's more a philosophical religion, like, say, Buddhism, like a few other ones, like maybe a bit more like Taoism, but it really worships Satan as a force, or a sort of a primal entity that resides in all humans, kind of thing. It really is more a philosophical. Oh, we've got a raid. We've got a raid. Who is raiding me? Well, welcome, whoever is raiding me. I feel scared. I feel scared. Someone's raiding, and I don't know who it is. Someone's raiding. Is it Nick? Is it the Time Travelers? Is it the Time Travelers? Help me. Help me. I'm being raided by somebody, and I don't know who's raiding me. Please get consent before you raid. Please. That will come up a bit later as well. Oh, it's Dr. Kip. Okay, Dr. Kip. Yep. So we're talking Satanism, we're talking Matt Powell, we're talking how people don't understand what Satanism is, and the branches of Satanism. So there's two main branches. So there's the Satanic Temple, which is more like a philosophical school and an ideology on the way that humans interact with one another. And then there's the more occult branch, which is the Church of Satan. Now, the Church of Satan is the one that endorses the Satanic Bible. It is the one that sort of has um, it is the one that has the sort of more mystical, more sort of occult practices. The Satanic Temple doesn't usually go into that. Um, and it's but Max drops in. Hey Max, how you doing? Maximilian is here. 5 Singaporean dollars. Just here, send a little bit of love. Good to see you, Mark. Take care. You too, my friend. You take care as well. It is really good to see you. And again, welcome to all the time travelers, all the Kip Raiders, or whoever. It is Kip Raiders. Okay, gotcha. I'm not sure what you guys call yourselves. I'm happy to use it. Kippers, Kipsters. I kind of like Kipsters. You know, it's like hipsters, but with more Bible. I kind of like that personally. Can somebody suggest it next time you're over with Kip? Say that Mark Reed suggests Kipsters, because I you know, like hipsters, but more Aramaic. You know, more Hebrew. There you go. I'm happy with that. Still this book, and Annika's book. Yeah, the Annika's cookbook was removed from the internet. Yes. Yeah, it was kind of removed because, you know, teaching just ordinary people how to build, like, say, make nitroglycerin is a really bad idea. Really bad idea. But yeah, so there's 2 main branches, and one is more it's more about a ideology and a sort of a way of living than the other one, which is more the occultism stuff, and they're very different. And he's saying these you pulled it off. Yeah, absolutely, Kip, you absolutely pulled it off. And can I recommend, now that you're here, can I recommend the name for your followers of Kipsters? Because I really like that. It really it sings to me. I don't know why. Kipsters. But please reject me if you want. I'm cool. Anyway, so he doesn't understand that the Satan clubs, the after school clubs that are based around Satan, are in fact not. They don't follow this. They don't follow the Satanic Bible at all. Right? They wholesale reject it. And we'll get a bit later into what they actually do promote, because the Satanic Temple has sort of 7 main tenets of Satanism, right? Like they have these 7 tenets, which are kind of supposed to be like the 10 commandments kind of thing. They basically have a different perspective altogether on that book. Like they do not endorse it at all.
And it is extremely horrific. And so on this video, I want to get into some of that and just kind of share with you guys some of the issues that I've found in the Satanic Bible. And I just want to say this stuff is not good for kids. Satan Con, Satan clubs should not be a thing in our public schools. We need to get rid of it. We need to do our best to stand up against it and fight it as Christians.
So what I'm hearing is like he's sort of saying, hey, Satan Con is not good for kids. And I do not see, like a lot of people have said this, but what they're light on, what they're very, what they don't do is show any examples of why it is. Like I said, there's a lot of, in these sort of Christian clubs, there's a lot of believe in Jesus or get lost, right? Like believe in Jesus or you're not going to be, they're not going to be very welcoming to you. They're not going to be very accepting to you. They're not going to provide you with a good experience. They're kind of like, well, we all believe in Jesus. You need to as well to join the club. Now, the Satan clubs, they don't do that. They say all are welcome because we're all human and we all have Satan inside of us kind of thing. Now, whether that's true or not, a lot of it, as I said, is sort of an ideology or philosophy. But generally, the reason why I'm not a Satanist is because I don't believe in any Satan. And a lot of them, I mean, it depends on the person in the temple, but a lot of them believe in sort of the humanistic force of our natural desires. Like, so they will discuss things like sex and jealousy and all of these sort of negative emotions and how to deal with them, right? So it won't just be, oh, praise Jesus and, be a good person and all of this stuff. It will be how to actually deal with these negative emotions in a healthy, constructive way. And a lot of them see these negative emotions as a facet of Satan, which I don't think is the case. I'm very materialistic. I'm very empirical. I'm very sort of, I would call myself I would definitely call myself a materialist. Like everything is just material things. Well, Tommy, that is kind of true. Most of them believe in it as a concept encapsulating a lot of different ideas and ideologies, right? So they believe in it insofar as it is a shorthand or heuristic, a shortcut to describing so a lot of them believe in it as a symbol for lizard brain, basically. Your deeper desires, your more primitive basal desires. A lot of it believe in it as a concept, but not as an actual thing, right? Which is fine. I've got no problem with that. I get you. I just do not I'm just happy to say, hey, they're sort of, I think that they're anthropomorphizing something that doesn't need to be anthropomorphized. I just sort of wholesale reject it. Concept and symbol, yeah, absolutely. Look, we're on the same page, trust me. I'm not saying that they think that it is a supernatural agent, some sort of, being, some sort of thingo. Yeah, basically, yes. The id, yes. So all of those sort of desires that we have, those sort of primal urges that we have, kind of thing. Yeah, and it's just sort of, so a lot of them think that is, the symbol of Satan is the symbol for all of these primal urges. But what they are doing is sort of, instead of saying, to say, to children or whatever, who are going to Christian club, they're told, don't be horny, and it's like, are you serious? You're going to tell a 17-year-old kid to just suppress their natural desire? It doesn't work. That's the problem, right? It doesn't work, right? You've got to tell them how to deal with it in a healthy and respectful way and, deal with that and have a way of, approaching it as a healthy adult, because that's what we've all got to do. It's something we learn in time, but wouldn't it be nice if we had, people saying, hey, you're going to get these urges and you're going to go through these changes during puberty and they're very difficult to deal with. And instead of shaming them for that, you're actually saying, hey, here's how we deal with these urges. Here's how we deal with them rationally. We have these tools that we can use. And look, that's fantastic. That's basically, one facet of secular sex ed, because we have to teach kids how to deal with these changes in their bodies, these changes in their, the way that they look at whoever they desire. And, for them to go, hey, if you have these feelings towards, you're a boy and you have these feelings towards another boy, that is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And Christian Club won't give them that, right? It will basically say, you should be ashamed of yourself. That's of the devil. You're horrible. And especially in places where sex ed has basically been pushed out by the Christian lobby. They don't have it anymore. They just have pushed it out. That's where the Satanists are stepping up. And I appreciate them for it. I think they're doing a fantastic job. But, and it is for those kids that they're never going to be accepted into the Christian club. They're never going to be accepted in the God club. They're going to be rejected from it. And so you have these incredibly alienated kids who have all these feelings that they don't understand in a world that is quite frankly going crazy, and they've got no one to turn to because the Christians are so judgmental and elitist. I mean, they like to say, oh, we accept everybody. They don't. We all know they don't. We all know that, to be part of the Christian club, you can't just be a good person. You have to believe in Jesus. We've all encountered this. We've all seen it. And for them to say, oh, you're welcome here. Well, you are, but you're still not welcome there, if you know what I mean. You can turn up, but you're not really welcome there if you're not a Jesus believer. So I like what they're doing. But whenever he's talking about this Satanic Bible, just keep in mind that the people running these groups in no way believe in the Satanic Bible.
And I believe the best way that we can overcome it and fight against it is by preaching the truth and overcoming it with good. And so if you work in the public school system and they try to bring this stuff in,
the problem is that his good is just his God belief. That's all his good is, right? Like, it's all just whatever is God is good. And, it's very difficult for someone to have religious trauma from Christianity and go, well, that's all good. Me personally, I would like to look at the well-being of the individual and society and see what it produces for us and see whether it's good or not.
What I would show the teachers of Satanism, or the people that are going to be promoting Satanism, is these references that I'm going to share with you from the Satanic Bible. Obviously, Anton LaVey wrote the Satanic Bible, and at Satan Club, I know that they do promote.
Yeah, so Anton LaVey, famously, he's on the back. That dude, this guy, he is a Church of Satan. He's not part of the Satanic Temple. Obviously, the Church of Satan is an older organization, but the Satanic Temple has nothing to do with Anton LaVey. They kind of reject him entirely. I personally think he was a bit of a con man. He sort of had all of these, occultish stuff to make him seem more mysterious and things. And I don't know anybody in the Satanic Temple that would hold up Anton LaVey as a good role model for the average Satanist. There's things that he taught, there's nothing wrong with them, they're good things, but that doesn't mean they believe in everything he says. It's really important to understand this.
Promoted. And so Anton LaVey said this: each man is a god if he chooses to recognize himself as one. So if you want to just dream up the idea of being a god, supposedly you are a god. That is what the Satanic Bible is claiming. That's in the book of Lucifer, chapter 1. And so...
it's sort of so... there's a very fine line between sort of saying, hey, you're a god in the metaphorical sense, and you're made in the image of God, so you are partly divine, right? Like, so what really is the difference between those two? Because if everybody is a god, then nobody... I mean, I hate to quote the Invincibles, but if everybody's a god, then nobody is, right? Like, it's kind of that if God is the natural default setting of everybody, then nothing, because, the whole idea of God is it's something powerful, exceptional, it's, we're not gods. But if everybody is a god, then really nobody is a god. So what is the difference between being a god and being made in the image of God and being partly divine kind of thing? There's no real difference between the two.
Aleister Crowley also is very popular in the satanic world, and he actually literally believed in Satan. And he said that there is no God but man.
See, Matt Powell sort of shows his hand here because he says he actually literally believed in Satan, suggesting that all the other Satanists don't, which is probably true unless you sort of take Satan as a metaphor, sort of a conceptual idea that packages all of these other things within it. And whether somebody does or not is really a personal thing. We can't really evaluate the efficacy and the how good a after-school program is by what God the person doing it believes in. Like, would Matt Powell have the same problem if it's a Hindu after-school class, like a Hindu club, or a Buddhist club, or a Jainism club? I don't know. It just seems to be this one in particular. Oh, Sapphire, thank you so much, has become a Sapphire, big swamp denier, light. That's a bit of a mouthful, but thank you so much. Congratulations. And you will definitely have all the emojis, or most of the emojis, or some of the emojis. You'll definitely have all of them. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. And also the member streams, which I had one yesterday. I was talking about roguelikes yesterday in gaming, but so if you do join, you will have access to the member streams. We just casually chill out, play some games, have a chat, that kind of stuff. But you know, and it really surprises me, because at other times, Matt Powell will sort of go on about how other religions are false, they're blasphemy, but why do you accept other religions' marriages? Why do you accept a Hindu marriage? Why do you accept an Islamic marriage? Why do you accept any of these marriages if they're a blasphemy? It's because he's just really bigoted against certain groups. Basically.
And that was written in the Book of the Law, his book that he had compiled together and that he had worked on when he was still alive. And so, you know, Aleister Crowley, everybody knows he was kind of a really creepy individual, but Anton LaVey was more atheistic. And Anton LaVey taught that there is no God, we're just going to have Satanism as a...
Yeah, so my apologies. This sort of happens occasionally because he can't figure out his microphone.
Way to counteract Christianity and as a way to try to oppose Christian values.
Yes. Yeah, so part of Satanism was an opposition to Christian values. He's not wrong on this point, but, you know, it really doesn't tell you anything about the people running the after-school clubs, right? Like, because if you want to say, hey, there's Christian clubs there, okay, for a long amount of time, the Christians in Europe, as the Catholic Church, tortured people. Yes, they did. So do we take those people and say, hey, that is emblematic of Christianity? No, we evaluate those people as for what they are doing, right? We don't say, hey, the origin of your religion is steeped in blood, therefore you guys are just bloodthirsty monsters. That's a really black and white way of thinking about the world. And I'm sure there's Christian clubs where people do a good job and they do help children and they do make a difference to people's lives. Okay, that's fine. I've got no problem with that. But you're sort of then going, well, these Satanists, they've got people in their past who were creepy. So what? So what? Does that matter? I don't understand. Like, why wouldn't we evaluate the Satan club the same way we're evaluating the Christian club, which is with the outcomes that they're producing, not what the past of their religion has been? I don't understand that. I really do not.
Very sad. So if you're in the school system and people are trying to bring this in, make sure you bring this information up to them, that it is harmful. It's harmful to tell a child that you can become a god. Unfortunately, a lot of false religions do.
Yeah, I think that in sort of Satan Club, the Satanic Temple, more specifically than the Church of Satan, but the Satanic Temple more say, when they're sort of saying God, they're basically talking about total autonomy. Like, so one of the things that even the Satanic Bible here does really well is promote the autonomy of yourself. And just quickly, I want to go through, and I did grab it last night, the 7 fundamental tenets of the Satanic Temple. Now, this is the one running the clubs, right? Not the Church of Satan, which is the more a cult-like one, the more one where sort of Satan is an actual being rather than a concept for the more primal aspects of human nature. Okay, there's a big difference between the two. And these are 7 fundamental tenets. And before you go, work evil and stuff like that, that is absolutely a misrepresentation. Tell me if you disagree with any of them. So number 1, one should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures and in accordance with reason. I can't say that I disagree with that. I can't say I disagree with that. Yeah, it may not be reasonable to be compassionate towards somebody. If somebody is a freaking monster, that might not be reasonable. And to strive to do so. Oh, left-handed Jedi. What have you done, sir? What have you done? You've gone ahead and done it. Wait, I'll get a little fill in. Now, we've got a bit of a tradition around here of me being an announcer for these things. Look, I know it's cringe. Just embrace the cringe. Embrace it. It's my gift to you. The cringe is my gift to you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Those go out to right-handed. Did I just turn my microphone off? No, I'm fine. Right-handed Sith. Anarchic Fox. Grim the Anomaly. Wow, okay, I'm not on point today. I'm losing it. I'm losing it. Shelley Belly and Evil Grosh. Man, that guy's a Satanist. That's a Satanist name if ever I've seen it. Ever I've seen it. That's absolutely winners, chicken dinners. Enjoy your emotes and other benefits. Enjoy your cringe. Enjoy your. Okay, I missed hit with the emoji. That's fine. That's fine. A WWE announcer. Yeah, look. I got to admit, I didn't take it from WWE. I actually was watching BattleBots, and the guy doing the BattleBots announcing is so good. Like, he is awesome. I love it. I love the dude. He is fantastic. As soon as I enter a room, I need that guy standing there with a mic and just, Mark Reed. Like, seriously, I need it in my life. I need that man in my life. Somehow set up reverb and delay. Yeah, okay. I don't know if I can do that, but I'll try. The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. I would agree. Yes. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's sort of saying, hey, there is a more fundamental law than sort of there's a more fundamental importance to the nature of justice than just what the laws say or what the institutions say, and I definitely would agree. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's will alone. This is bodily autonomy, and it is a very good message that you should be able to do anything with your body that you choose. Nobody should be able to choose what is for your body, what is right. There are always consequences to that, however. There's always consequences to choosing things for your body. If you do not want to, engage in safe sex, for instance, there's consequences to that. And accepting that consequence is one of the things. And, you shouldn't ever use somebody's body without their consent. Ever. Even though there is consequences. Ever. This does not hold in Christianity, I might add. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. Yeah, that basically says if you violate somebody else's autonomy or their body, you get your autonomy taken away and your body locked up, there are consequences for violating those inherent rights to your own body. Belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's belief. Really important, right? Like, it's basically saying, hey, so the problem that I have with this is that, without a doubt, the scientific methodology is the best way we can use to evaluate the world. The problem comes that if we find a better method. Now, I don't know if there is a better one. There may not be. But if there is a better method out there, a tenet like this, and it's why I don't really have tenets myself, you're kind of stuck to saying, well, no, we've got to follow science. And the Satanic Temple, they may update it if we ever find a better method to understanding the world. I think that that's perfectly reasonable. But this is how schisms happen, when you put down tenets and put them in black and white. So I don't do that. As far as tenets go, these ain't bad. I will say that. People are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused. Yeah, it's amazing that the Bible doesn't have this in it. Make amends to people you have wronged. Instead of seek forgiveness from a God, it's make amends to people you have wronged. I don't see why that's not a good tenet. That definitely doesn't enter the Bible. Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. So it puts in a rider here that the idea of being compassionate, wise, noble, just should override any of these words at all. Because words' meanings change, right? So it is the sort of spirit of all of these things. However, this means it's reliant a lot upon interpretation. I don't have a problem with any of these. None of them whatsoever. At all. Right? And those are the 7 tenets. So these are kind of the things it does promote. So you compare them to the 10 Commandments kind of thing. It's, the very first one is, I am the Lord your God, you shall have no other gods but me. Like, basically just a blanket against freedom of religion, right? Just blanket against it. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder. Those are the couple, very few, that are actually in law. Apart from those, the other ones, like thou shalt keep the Sabbath holy. Wow, thou shalt not covet. They're really bad. They're really bad. But, they were living a long time ago. But yeah, so Matt does not understand Satanism in the slightest, because he wants to say, hey, it's all about the Satanic Bible. No, not the Satanic Temple. No.
That where they will tell people that you can become deified, you can become a god yourself if you try to adhere to the commandments in the Bible even, or a set of rules and regulations. So that's one of the first things that I bring up to people in the public school system that are trying to bring Satanism in. Satanic Bible also says this: it is just dangerous for kids. It says, if someone bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not stop, destroy him. And so really think about that. Is it plausible to believe in this book and to put faith in?
Okay, so Matt doesn't understand the context of what it's saying here. So it's basically saying, if someone bothers you, destroy him. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean physical. Okay, so the Satanic Bible, it goes a lot on sort of spiritual warfare, sort of magic, and all of this sort of what I would consider to be bullshit that isn't really applicable to, like, physically attacking somebody. Really, it's if someone is bothering you, if someone is accosting you, if someone is doing something to you, ask them to stop. Right? Say, please stop doing that. I do not like that. You need to quit. if not destroy them. Now, it doesn't mean physically automatically, right? It means that you may destroy them verbally or insult them. Like, basically it's saying if something violates your boundaries and you have asked them to stop and they don't, do not hold compassion for them, right? Just lay into them with whatever tools you have available, but doesn't mean like go out there and attack them or whatever. That's not necessarily what it means by destroy them. It can mean destroy their ego, right? Like just cut them down with a snarky comment. It can be destroy them by turning your back and saying you aren't even worth considering. It may mean a lot of different things. It can mean attacking them, right? If somebody is physically going at you and you say, right, hey, I don't want any trouble, right? Like stop. I don't stop that. Stop touching me. I don't want any trouble. And then they continue to do so. They're basically saying, yeah, feel free to absolutely wreck that person with whatever means necessary to defend yourself, right? A lot of the principles in Satanism are sort of a holding yourself as sort of holy, and people that violate that, feel free to go at them. Now, I don't think that is necessarily a great message, right? Like, I think that if you're genuinely in fear for your or bodily autonomy, absolutely, yes. I think that there can be misunderstandings, there can be problems with that. If you misunderstand what somebody's doing, and you ask them to stop and they still continue, there may be language barriers, there may be problems with them understanding. There can be a lot of differences, right? Like I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. So just going, well, I've asked them to stop, destroy them now. If you've got a police officer that's restraining you, that's going to get you into a lot of trouble. So I don't think that's necessarily a good idea. I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. I think there's a lot more to it than that. But this is what Matt's saying, and I will agree with the Satanists. If somebody is physically touching you and you've asked them to stop and they still do it, and they have no authority to do so, absolutely. Don't wait, don't see what they'll do. I think there's a good message for that is better than turn the other cheek. Because turn the other cheek, which is the Christian response, if someone strikes you on one side, turn the other cheek for the other, that can have massive problems as well. Like if someone's just a bully, they will continue to bully that person till the end of time. They love the power imbalance. They love humiliating that person. It is absolutely shocking to tell children if they're being physically assaulted, offer something up to be physically, that is horrendous. That is horrendous advice, right? That is terrible advice. I think that you should never seek out this kind of thing, but if there is, because we're talking about kids club, right? We're talking about after school clubs, and for bullying, right? For kids actually being physically assaulted, which does happen, the Christians are saying, we'll turn the other cheek, just accept it. And the Satanists are going, we'll ask them to stop. If they don't, fight back with all your worth. And I like the Satanist message a lot more, because nothing stops a bully like consequences for themselves. Unfortunately. It brings up the thing of why aren't the schools doing things about it, but,
This, when it literally says, destroy people that you don't like. So
it didn't say that. It said if somebody is bothering you, ask them to stop. If they continue, destroy them. And it doesn't necessarily mean physical. And look, I'll grant that, if you go into that's sort of a bit of black and white. If you go into the nuance of it, there might be instances where you have somebody on the autism spectrum, they're bothering you, you ask them to stop. They don't understand what you're talking about. They still will continue to bother you. should you destroy that person who doesn't really understand what they're doing wrong? No, of course not. I think that the Satanic Bible in there, destroy anybody that's bothering you and have been asked to stop, is a bad message, yeah. The problem is that that's not what the Satanic Temple is teaching at all, right? Like, this is just a straw man.
If you have somebody in your family that is part of the Satanic Temple or Luciferian, I would show them this and ask, is this a good idea? Should we be destroying people that we don't like?
Yeah, but they're not teaching that in the Satanic Temple, so they're not teaching it in Kids Club. They're not. So you're basically arguing with a figment of your imagination. It's the Church of Satan doing the after-school clubs, which they're not. Can I also point out that all throughout this, it says, do not harm children, right? Like, the one thing that is consistent over all of Satanism is you will not harm the little ones, ever, right? It is absolutely sacrosanct in that religion. It is a central message that children are not to be harmed. Meanwhile, the Bible says, spare the rod, spoil the child, right? It says, beat children. Okay, I know which message I like better. Now, I'm not saying that Christians beat children, right? A lot of them don't. A lot of people would reject that, right? A lot of Christians wouldn't do that at all, okay? But, we can't just look at a book and go, that's how the person acts, because that's not how we evaluate people.
Yeah, this was from the book of Lucifer, chapter 3, where it says, if you don't like someone or if someone does something and they don't stop, when you ask them to stop, destroy them. That is so, so sad. The Lord said in Deuteronomy 32:35, to me belongeth vengeance and recompense. Their foot shall slide in due time. So people that are doing evil things, let's say something bad happens to you. Let's say, for example, somebody steals a bunch of money from you, or they rip you off in a business deal.
Or they put after-school Satan clubs.
The Bible tells us that eventually they're going to reap what they sowed. Their foot shall slide in due time.
So here's the ironic thing that Matt completely misses, right? Because he's completely clueless. That he's saying, hey, if somebody does something you don't like, don't take action against them. It is the Lord that will take action against them in due time. They will receive their comeuppance. And in the same time, right, at exactly the same time, he's basically saying, hey, they're starting up after-school clubs by the Satanic Temple. We've got to stop them. We've got to take action against these people. So in one hand, he's saying, don't take action against those that have slighted you. The Lord will do that. And at the same time saying, don't wait for the Lord to stop these people. We've got to do it. Does he not listen? Like, is that not a problem? Is that not contradictory? Is that a freaking moron? Like, is he a moron? He's basically contradicting himself in like one paragraph. It's insane.
Time. Amen, Alan. The world will be like the days of Noah. It's only going to get worse. Nothing we can do. There is something that we can do. I suppose that, in the end days, that things are just going to get darker and darker. And as we shine the light of the Word of God, we can help this world to improve and to get better. I don't know if my mic settings are working here. I hope that they are. I hope that you guys can hear me. I hope I'm not just talking into the air here. If you guys could let me know in the chat if you can hear me or not, that would be great. And so I'd like to say that it's just a sad thing in the Satanic Bible to assert that we should hurt other people or destroy other people for doing stuff that we don't like. That's just...
Yeah, he doesn't get that destroy doesn't mean physically destroy. He doesn't understand that. It's sort of made very, very clear in there that because I've read it, Anton LaVey's sometimes talking about spiritual destruction. So he talks about doing ritual and magic and spells on people kind of thing, which may just alleviate our need for vengeance kind of thing. But, it doesn't necessarily mean physically destroy, Matt.
Really sad. Audio's good, brother. Thank you so much. Good to see you, Patrick.
Audio is not good. It's not
Okay.
good, Matt. It's not good.
The Satanic Bible also says that we should not love everyone. We should not
Right.
show compassion to those who are even undeserving of it.
Right.
It says really nasty things about people who are weak. It says, blessed are the strong, for they shall possess the earth. Cursed are the weak, for they shall inherit the yoke. So
Yeah, and this is a problem I have with the Satanic Bible and the Church of Satan. It's basically the moral is might makes right, essentially, and I do not like that idea. I think that as a description of how generally the world works, it's accurate. People with the might generally do whatever the hell they want to, and there's multiple events in recent history I can point to that. However, I don't think that's how the world ought to work. I think that we should protect the weak, and the powerless should be fought for. The powerless should be given power by those who do have it. That's what I believe. But again, this isn't what's being taught in Satan Club, because the people that believe in this book, that believe in the Satanic Bible, aren't running the clubs, right? The Satanic Temple doesn't believe in this at all. So none of his stuff is actually applicable to what he's talking about.
they're saying that the weak are just cursed and we should look down on the weak as people that are just going to inherit the yoke. There's nothing that we can really do for them.
Yeah, I think that it's more trying to say, don't just be weak and accept the yoke. Fight against it with all that you can, kind of thing. But I don't like the sentiment or the way that it's written either. I'm not a fan of Anton LaVey at all. Like, I don't like some of the stuff in there. Some of the stuff is really good, like where it says, do not harm children, which is absolutely absent, if not contradicted in the Bible. And the idea that, for instance, let's take one of the 10 Commandments, like one of the vaunted 10 Commandments, honor thy mother and father, right? No, some mothers and fathers don't deserve to be honored, right? Like, just because you are the parents of a person doesn't mean that person should honor you. You earn respect as a parent just like through anything else. And that's not to say there aren't there's some awesome parents out there. They definitely deserve respect from everybody, including their children. But the whole idea that just because you're the mother or father, you should be honored by your children no matter what you do to them. Absolutely not. No. That's what it's sort of saying. It's sort of saying, hey, don't just respect people for what they do, not who they are. And I think that's an important message. I mean, how many times have we heard, a politician, I don't know if this is how they refer to them in your country. In my country, sometimes a politician is referred to as the right honourable. And you're like, okay, two words that would never be applied to this human piece of crap is right and honourable. Like, there is nothing right and honourable, as in there. It definitely, it's just this whole idea of who you are gets you authority. If you're a priest, you deserve honour and respect. No, you deserve honor and respect if you act in a way that is deserving of that, not just because you're a priest. We've got to stop doing this. We've got to stop putting these people saying, well, that's their position in society, so therefore they're honored and respected. No, their actions will gain them honor and respect, not who they are. And it's always a problem.
And I'd like to ask, if you work in the school system, is it plausible, is it reasonable to be teaching this to kids at Satan Club, to give them a copy of the Satanic Bible and ask?
Okay, they don't give them a copy of the Satanic Bible because they don't follow the Satanic Bible, you moron. Like, this is the thing. He has no idea what he is talking about, and quite confidently relaying that to parents under this satanic panic bullshit. Like, look, I've got problems with the Satanic Bible, But at least I know that that's not being put into Satan Club because it's not the Church of Satan doing it, you moron.
Ask them to read it and ask them to live by it. I don't think that's a good idea.
Which they're not doing. They're not doing. In fact, the Satan Clubs don't require you in any way to believe in Satan, adhere to their tenets, in any way support them at all. This is the problem. You're looking at it like through the lens of, well, Christian clubs, you go to the club, you experience, the fellowship, and they'll expect you to believe and follow the Bible. That's not what they're doing. That's not what they're doing. That's the thing. He's projecting what Christianity does onto the church, the Satanic Temple, which they don't do. They're just saying, hey, here is a place for all of the people that have been left unwanted after school to come socialize, hear, some wisdom, hear some adults with how they've dealt with certain things that they've gone through, do some activities, and support their community. They're not going, well, you've got to believe in this satanic Bible. Nobody is doing that. Nobody. But of course, that doesn't matter to Matt. Not if he can basically vilify an entire group of people.
At all. I think it's just going to cause harm to others. I love what the Bible tells us in 1 Thessalonians 5:14. It says, comfort the feeble-minded, support the weak, be patient toward all men. So the Satanic Bible says that the weak will inherit the yoke, but the Bible tells us to support the weak. We should try to be compassionate towards them.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of the Satanic Bible, the way that I read it, it's more a cautionary thing of don't be weak, right? Which I think is lacking because some people, if you are, if you are in a certain state, there's, you can't be strong. If you have incredible trauma in your life, I think it is, so basically it's saying be strong, because you don't want to be weak, right? But I think there's people, they've had a great amount of trauma or something, and you can't just go up to... So yeah, I agree that it's not a good message. But there's things that aren't good messages in the Bible. There's things that aren't good messages in the Quran. I think that all of these holy books, there's not good messages, right? Like, let's look at one paragraph that Paul did from the Bible about consent in a marriage, right? It says that the only reason you should not lay with your wife, or your wife should lay with you, is by mutual consent, right? That was in First Corinthians. I'll pull it up. And this was the reason why I know this is because it came up in an Alex O'Connor debate very recently. Oh, big plug for the debate dissection or the debate review over on Embers. That's going to be coming up in a couple of days. We weren't sure if it would happen, and Ember said, yeah, she can do it. So we will be doing that. Do not deprive each other except perhaps by mutual consent and for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer, then come together again so Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Okay, do not deprive each other except by mutual consent. So what does that mean? It says that unless you agree, you should have sex with one another. That's not good. That is horrible. That means if the woman goes, yeah, I don't feel like it. I'm feeling off. I'm not in the mood. I do not want to go through with it. And the man goes, well, no, I don't consent to abstain from sex. The Bible is telling her she should go through with it against her wishes. I mean, there's a legal term for that. There is a legal term for that. I won't say it because it'll probably get me demonetized, but there's a legal term for that. That's not what the Satanic Bible says. It says that each person has complete autonomy over their own bodies, which means that if one person says, no, I will not use my body for that, the other must respect it. So which book do you want teaching consent and the nature of consent to children? The one that says, hey, if you're married to somebody, you cannot refuse sex unless they agree? Or the one saying you have autonomy over your own body to choose how to use it as you see fit? I know which one I would rather children be taught, because one respects consent, one doesn't. You need consent to abstain from sex, which is just awful, absolutely awful. And I mean, I won't go into what happens in the Old Testament if somebody does not get consent, because holy crap, that is horrifying. That is absolutely horrifying. So this is the problem. So Matt's cherry picking here, not only out of the Satanic Bible, but he's cherry picking out of his own book as well and saying, hey, isn't it so great it uses this? Isn't it so great it says that? Yeah, it also says that the man is the head of the household and a woman shouldn't talk in church. Right? Where the Church of the Satanic Bible says that each person is their own God, right? They each have their own authority. So I know which one I would rather teach to children than, hey, the man's the head of the household and he makes all the decisions, and hey, you have decisions over yourself. Wait, Matt, what happened to don't take action, everything is up to God and God will take action in due time? What happened to that? God's on holiday now? He's decided that as far as the Church of Satan is concerned, like, he doesn't give a crap. What's going on there? Because I'm confused. So now you're talking about taking action against people that are bothering you. Do you want to destroy them, perhaps? Destroy them? So this is the thing about Matt Powell, right? Like, he is not interested in having a honest discussion. He just sidelongs straight into evolution. Right? What has that got to do with Satanism? What the hell was that? Like, it's just like, oh, Satanism, evil, bad, Satan, evil, evolution. Or perhaps should I say evolution? Yeah, no, you can't hear Matt? Oh, interesting. Hold it. I will reset this thing. It definitely was working. Maybe it was my change of screens and stuff. I wonder why it's doing that. Give me 1 second, and I'll share it again. It's definitely coming through my end. Why is that there? Why have I got an extra screen now? Why have I got an extra screen? Okay, that's kind of strange. Kind of strange, but never mind. Let me know if it's still may have messed something up. Okay, so my program. Look, this is why I generally don't hassle people for technical issues.
Really sad. I really think that SatanCon should not be a thing, and they shouldn't be putting it out there in front of our kids. I think we need more Christians to stand up against these
How we doing,
ideas.
team?
We need more people to rise up and say, no, you're not going to indoctrinate our children to believe that we descended from fish and primates. I know it sounds fun to think their ancestor was Curious George or something like that, but it's not reality.
Yeah, so he's a young Earth creationist who has a real problem with evolution. Let me know if it's coming through, because he just sidelong straight into evolution without any. Oh, I think it's, you know, we believe in fish. We came from fish. Okay, so it is such a non sequitur to go from Church of Satan teaching Satanism to kids, teaching all of these horrible evil things, and then straight into evolution. Even if that was true, which it isn't true. Like, it absolutely isn't true. So all he's doing is stoking fear, 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 and then associating it with evolution. And then sort of trying to make, oh, they're teaching evolution in the classrooms, that's Satanism, which it's not. This book has nothing to say about evolution. Nothing.
That's fiction. And unfortunately, many people have really bought into evolution, and Satanists generally believe in the theories of Darwinian evolution. We were out witnessing to
Generally, yeah, but it's not a precept for Satanism, really. It's just a, hey, we follow science. And that's in the Satanic Temple, which, yes, they say, hey, we accept science. Science says that evolution is true. You're a religious nutbag that does not believe in evolution because you literally think your God created the world in 6 days with magic spells. Like, I can't get across this enough. Like, there is no reason to think that the world was created in 6 days by a God. That's his religious belief.
today with our church, and going door to door, because we believe that God wants the gospel to get to everyone.
You know what evolution doesn't do? Go door to door. No, what it does is submit peer-reviewed papers to experts who check the scientific findings of these people and try to replicate them to check that whether it's true or not. Like, that's what we do in science. What we don't do, like, nobody goes door to door for, the theory of gravity, right? No, nobody goes door to door explaining Einstein's theory of relativity. No, Einstein submitted papers. Those papers were tested over time and tried to be falsified, and then it survived the falsification process and people expanded upon them. This is the same thing of evolution. That's why it's not a religion, Matt. It's not a religion.
And while we're out and about, I ran into someone that was atheistic, and I asked him point blank, I said, is it plausible to suggest that we descended from fish? He's like, yeah, fish go back millions of generations, and that's ultimately what we descended from. Those were the organisms that are our grandparents.
No, he didn't say they were our grandparents, you idiot. He never said that. That is Matt making stuff up. So when you sort of say fish, it's very interesting. And I've mentioned this on another stream recently, that there's no such thing as just fish, right? Like, that is what a preeminent, I think it's an ichthyologist or a fish scientist, basically. They studied fish all their life and came to the conclusion is that there is no such thing as fish. Okay, there's multiple different types. They're not lumped into one category. There are lobe-finned fish, and like the coelacanth and things like that. There are ray-finned fish, like manta rays and other sort of different kinds of fish, and they are very different. The interesting thing is that genetically we are closer to lobe-finned fish than those lobe-finned fish are to ray-finned fish. Right? Those lobe-finned fish are closer genetically to humans than they are to the ray-finned fish, because they split off so long ago. Right? So when you say fish, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Okay? You should be saying, if you knew anything, tetrapods. Right? Like, they are sort of the fish that turned into sort of developed sort of rudimentary lungs and could survive on land. Okay, they still exist. There's still cases of them. There's the mud skipper, for instance. Lungfish. There's a couple of cases of these fish that can breathe air. I mean, the mud skipper, we have found them up trees. Like, literally hiding from predators in trees. And not trees underwater, trees above land, because they've got a rudimentary lung. They can actually breathe air for a certain amount of time. So they hide from predators by climbing trees. Weird animal, but really cool. You've got to give it to the mud skipper. And the fact that they look like Pokemon is kind of cool as well. Right? They're sort of amphibious fish, right? Where's a science thing? Here we go. So this is the mud skipper, right? They use instead their swim bladder, which in most fish, their swim bladder, it sort of it fills up with oxygen to control their buoyancy to go raise and lower in the water, right? Because if you take oxygen out of the water, you put that gas into your swim bladder, you get more buoyant, right? Like, so that's what it's used for in most fish. Their swim bladder essentially has become a rudimentary lung, and it sort of shows how these animals can develop in this way over time. The other one, lungfish. That's okay. I'll just leave you with the mud skipper because I think they're cute. They're really, really cute. Yeah, they really are. They do look like Pokemon. Yeah, mud skipper, right? And the name sounds like a Pokemon as well, And
that is just sad that people have actually been deceived into thinking that. And then they think that the idea that we descended from a man and a woman is just crazy. That's insane. No,
we do think we're descended from a man and a woman. They're called my parents, you moron. They're called my parents, Matt. Like, this is the thing. And nobody said that, hey, these tetrapods were my grandparent. No, literally nobody's saying that. They're so far back. They are my great. Like, they are so far back because he's thinking in terms of well over 6,000 years. No, we're talking millions and billions of years to get back that far. Billions of years. There's other reasons as well. We know that we had, but sort of the problem is he's going, oh, we're descended from modern fish. No, we're saying we had a common ancestor way back in the genetic line. Like, it doesn't mean that we descend from the fish today, because way back then you could barely even call them fish.
But it's very plausible, according to Darwinists, to think that we all descended from a single-celled organism that came alive on a rock billions of years ago.
That is a poor description of what possibly happened. Now, we don't know how the first single cell came about, the first prokaryote arose. We don't know. We're happy to admit we don't know. But he's sort of saying, yeah, we do know it was God, or God just created Adam and Eve, and we know that to be wrong. We do know that is wrong. Y chromosome Adam, mitochondrial Eve, they lived at different times. We know that they weren't at the same time at all.
It's just incredible that Satanists believe this, hook, line, and sinker.
No, almost everybody believes this. Like, it's not like it's just Satanists and that's it, but he wants to conflate the two. And he's so... Like, he's not even good at conflating things, because he's just saying, hey, most Satanists believe that evolution is true. Other people believe in evolution is true. Therefore, evolution is satanic. Really? Let's do that for something else. Satanists believe that the sky is blue. Other people believe the sky is... Therefore, believing the sky blue is satanic. What? No, and even if we're talking about the Satanic Temple, the fact that they follow science, like, just because he's a science-denying guy doesn't make it untrue. It just doesn't. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
Write things, or at least Anton LaVey wrote things in the Satanic Bible that were just in complete opposition to morality and the Word of God. The Satanic Bible actually...
Yep, and I would agree with that. I would agree with that. If the Word of God, you mean what the Bible says, yeah, I agree with that. But I will say that he also wrote stuff that I think were in complete accordance with morality, like do not harm children under any circumstances. Does Matt have a problem with that? Does he have a problem with that? Because he also wrote that in his book, which I think is very good advice and perhaps one that some churches should take on board.
Tells people that they should be proud. It says, we are self-respecting, prideful people. We are Satanists. And that's from the Satanic Bible, page 54. So they claim to be very filled with pride. But if you look up the definition of what pride is, it's a feeling that you're better or more important than other people.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's the definition of pride. I'm not 100% sure. I think that pride is a good thing, right? I think that there's a difference between pride and arrogance. Okay? So it depends how it's being used. So this is an AI overview, so do take it with a grain of salt, okay? Pride is a deep sense of satisfaction from one's own achievements or a feeling of self-respect and personal worth. I would absolutely think that that would be my definition of pride. He's talking about this one, arrogance or hubris, right? Which is a unreasonable overestimation of one's own superiority kind of thing, right? So I think that that is not, sorry, I'll go in for you. So that's generally pride, which is how I would use it. It is a deep sense of satisfaction from your own achievements and personal worth. That's a good definition. It is not in any way thinking that you're better than other people, right? It is not. That is not what pride is. Pride is having satisfaction in yourself. It doesn't, like, I have pride in the work that I've done on YouTube. I certainly don't think I'm better than everybody on YouTube, right? Like, I certainly don't. I don't think I'm better than anybody. I think that, I may be. I leave that up for others to decide. I don't have a problem with pride, right? Arrogance is what he's talking about. It is basically this feeling of superiority that it sort of, you to the detriment of others, that you basically think you're superior to others around you. And that, yes, that's a problem. But there's no problem with pride because he's just conflating it with arrogance. Yeah, and that's one thing. Like, he doesn't like it. That's another reason why he doesn't like it, because another definition of pride is to have self-worth in the face of, bigotry and stuff. So gay pride is having that self-worth even though certain parts of society are trying to devalue you. It's having that value for oneself. And I think that's really important. I would rather a child go to Satan Club after school and be taught to have a sense of self-worth and accomplishment rather than go to Christian Club and to be taught that they are as rags, that they are worthless except by the grace of God. I would rather they get that sense of self-worth from Satan Club than that worthlessness from Christian Club. Now, I know that not all Christian clubs do that, but a lot of Christians do believe that you are absolutely worthless and valueless, and luckily God forgives you for it. Okay, a lot of them teach that. And what I would do is evaluate the club on what they're teaching, not what some other person believes, especially Anton LaVey. I don't take him seriously at all.
Other definitions say that it's too high of an opinion of one's own self.
No, it is not. It is a satisfaction for having self-worth, that you are valued. And hey, chat, you're all valued. You are valued. And having that sense of I am valued, I am worth something, it's not a bad thing. It's if you say, hey, I'm so much better than everybody, and start to make them sort of worth less by comparison, that's the problem. But that's arrogance, not pride. If you do a really good job, you should take pride in your work. I am really satisfied when I do a really good stream. It is a sense of satisfaction that I have. That is pride in my work. There's nothing wrong with that. If I start to, sorry about that. If I start to go, hey, I'm so awesome because of the streams that I do, Matt's shit and isn't worth anything. Yeah, that's a problem, right? That sort of gets into arrogance. And I know that I'm hassling him, but I really think that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
We should not think of ourselves as better than what we are. I think
we don't. That's not pride. Pride is having an accurate estimation of your own abilities and satisfaction in what you're doing. It's not we shouldn't think of ourselves as valued members of society who should take pride in their work. What are you talking about? That is so unhealthy. So this is one of my main problems with Christianity, or some facets of Christianity, sort of teaching people that they're worthless, that they are worth nothing. And the Lord has reached out his hand to, so graciously accept them as worth something, but only because God has, forgiven them. That's my problem. Because you teach people that they're worthless, they kind of act like it. They will internalize that, which is terrible.
That we should look at ourselves as sinners needing a savior. I need salvation every single day. I don't want to come off in these kind of videos like I'm...
Oh, absolutely sure. Yeah, when I'm talking about valued, I'm not talking about monetary stuff. I'm not talking about capitalism, essentially, or consumerism. Absolutely. I'm really talking about valued in a sort of a social sense, right? Like as part of a larger social dynamic or a larger social group, that even the least of us is valuable to the strength of the whole, or the success of the whole. We don't just leave others behind. We may need them. They are valuable. Even somebody that has no sort of utility, as far as we can say, they're still valuable, because life is valuable. It is rare. It is precious. It is valuable. So yeah, I'm certainly not talking about Marx's value of labor or something like that. I really am not talking in those terms at the moment.
Trying to beat down on people in Satanism or hurt their feelings. I really want people to have their eyes opened, and that's why I started this YouTube channel years ago. It's because I don't know. I guess I toss and turn at night, and I worry about people.
Well, that's not bad, but do you worry about all people? Do you worry? I find it problematic, because he'll just sort of go, well, I worry about people, they've got to come to Jesus. Where he doesn't respect that there's many ways to live your life, and you don't get the right to tell people what to do. I don't get to say, hey, Christians over here, that they've done horrible stuff. You've got to not be a Christian. We've got to stop you from being a Christian. I believe in putting arguments forth and sort of saying, hey, these are the reasons why I think it's harmful, or I think it's good, or I think, this is the case. But I'm not advocating for stopping people from being Satanists, even though I disagree with a lot of the stuff in this book. Actually, I disagree with it. It doesn't mean I say, hey, we've got to stop them, because I will judge people by what they do, not the book that they're reading. Okay? Because the Bible is terrible. It's got some horrible stuff in there. But I judge Christians by their actions.
I know that may sound silly to some, but that's honestly how I feel. And I'm not really ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed to admit I do.
Oh, you've got pride. Oh, no, watch out. It's pride. It's pride, Matt.
Worry about people's salvation. I'm concerned for others. I don't let it eat me up, but it does keep me up sometimes to think about souls of people dying and going to hell. And so...
Okay, what if that is not true? What if they don't go to hell? What if that we just die and that's it? Hey, even some Christians think they're annihilationists. They think that, hey, when people die, they don't go to hell. They just get annihilated. They just, don't exist anymore. What if that's true? Like, that's the thing. You're basically yelling fire, fire, when nobody can see the fire and nobody can see the smoke. You're just yelling it and expecting them to do what you want to do. And, with people saying, hey, I don't see any fire. I don't see it. What am I supposed to be worried about? You're basically going, no, look, someone wrote a book about fire. Someone wrote a book about it. Dude. Like, if you are worried for people because there is some threat, show the threat. Don't just keep yelling it. Like, you have to actually show these things. You can't just say, oh, aliens run the country, and then expect everyone to believe you. You've got to come up with some evidence of that.
If you work, like I said, this video is kind of directed towards people in the public school system. So if you work in the public school system, make sure you share this information. You could even share this video with the school board. A lot of people have shared my videos. A lot of students actually share my videos in science class with their teachers to refute the notion that we all descended from a single cell.
Yeah, and then they're laughed at by the rest of their peers. So this is the problem, and it's why... I understand that maybe in high school or something, the science teacher, they cover a lot of different topics, right? They're not specialized in, say, one topic. So they might, they know all the elements. They know, mitochondria. They know all of different stuff. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell kind of thing. They know a lot. Don't get me wrong. They may not have the specialization in evolutionary biology to answer some of the questions, although they may. They may have a lot of knowledge about it. But, with high school teachers, it can be a bit hit and miss sometimes because their expertise is expected to be, chemistry, geology, physics. It covers everything. So it can be a little bit hit and miss. But if you go to talk to an evolutionary biologist in university, oh yeah, he's going to clear you right up. So if somebody takes this into a evolutionary biology class and look, I got this video from Matt Powell, and he starts talking, it's going to be hilarious. People are going to laugh at them. You're going to be talking like an idiot because Matt Powell doesn't understand evolution in the slightest. Because he's like, we come from fish. No, fish and us came from the same ancestor ages ago. Ages ago. We don't come from modern fish. And there's no such thing as modern fish. It just, there's lobed fin and ray-finned fish. They're different. It's a whole complex thing. Biology's complex, yo. And he just wants it. And what's his evidence, right? So the process of getting things into school, into science classrooms, is not, hey, you go to the parents pressure the school, they change their curriculum and put stuff in science. That is not how we do things. How we do things is peer-reviewed papers are submitted. Those are peer-reviewed and made sure they're correct. That goes to the science institutions who put them up and support them with other studies and compile things to present to the schools as the current scientific understanding for science schools, right? That's how we organize the curriculum. We don't take the input of, not just me. We don't take me. Even if I go there and say, hey, we should have this in science, they're going to go, no, we take it from the scientific institutions that are actually doing the research. Or that's how it should function, right? What he wants to do is skip the entire scientific process, just skip it completely, pressure people into believing something, and then get them to pressure the government, the scientific institutions, the schools, the curriculum, the school boards, to put something fundamentally unscientific into the science curriculum. It's not how it works. It is not how it works. Oh, yeah, no, it's a burnt offering, Jinx. That's what it is. It's a burnt offering. Yes. Although it won't be pork because they didn't believe in... it will be goat. It will be a burnt offering of good old goat barbecue. Look, I do not support goat barbecues. I think it's
organism.
terrible.
And I think that that's a blessing. I think that that can actually, even though they get bad grades as a result, and I heard of one that almost got expelled from his class, I think it makes a good impression on these.
Well, I don't think that expels somebody for not accepting the theory of evolution. They might fail for not accepting it because it is sort of scientific theory. It is accepted in science and accepted. Like in most of the world, this isn't even a discussion, right? Like this isn't an argument. It isn't. It is absolutely settled science. There is so much evidence behind it that it just, it's like arguing, what the speed of light is. Like, no one's going to argue something differently. It is only you guys, you weird young Earth creationists, that are saying that evolution didn't happen, that it was God actually pulling a rib out of a guy and creating a woman. It's kind of ridiculous.
Teachers, and I do think ultimately the Word of God is not going to return void. Sorry to go on that little tangent there. Let's go ahead and get back on track. So I think of how the Lord was humble. In Satanism, they say we need to be proud and we need to be filled with pride. Prideful is what it says in the Satanic Bible. Well, if everyone lived like that, if everybody thought that they were better than others, or if everybody had too high of an opinion of themselves, if they're all consumed, if people are just totally consumed with me, myself, and I, it's going to cause problems, globally speaking. People are going to be hurting one another. And that's kind of...
No. Like, I think you can be proud of yourself and your own achievements, and still be, you can be proud of other people's achievements. I'm very proud of how humanity has sort of, reached for the stars and things like that. I don't think it's going to be the disaster that he thinks it is. I think if everyone was arrogant, that would be a problem. I think that would be a problem. I don't see why you can't be, proud of your achievements, yet humble. These two things are not mutually exclusive. You can take great pride in what you do, yet be humble about it. Say, hey, I'm very good at this thing, but, I don't want to hold it over people. That's perfectly acceptable. I don't see a problem with that. I'm proud of a lot of things that I do. I don't, go to people and go, oh, well, you can't do this, you're crap. No, it's just different people have different skills. And, it kind of reminds me of talking with I was talking to a guy, and he was a young Earth creationist. What was his name? Dustin, right? Because the guy's hilarious, in my opinion. He loses his crap every single time he talks about evolution. But sort of, I said, hey, I know way more about evolution than you do. Is that prideful? A little bit, yeah. I mean, I'm proud of the research that I've done into it. Not scientific research. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not an evolutionary biologist, but I've read a lot about it. I've done a lot of work to find out about it, to do the debates that I do. And so, he's like, well, how come we never debate anything that I like roofing? Okay, apparently he's a roofer. And I'm like, hey, I would absolutely concede to your knowledge of roofing. Okay, and I wasn't even joking. I'm sort of like, hey, I don't know a damn thing about it. You're talking about tiling a roof. And he's like, why don't we debate that? Well, I wouldn't debate that because I acknowledge that you probably know way more than I do. I don't know anything about it, right? I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, that's the thing. Like, you can be proud of your knowledge of how to do what you're doing. And I will acknowledge that and say, hey, I know way less than you. Is that prideful on your part? No. It means that I'm being humble, yet I'm proud of the things that I have looked into and I do have a lot of knowledge on? Yeah, those things aren't mutually exclusive. That's the thing. Like, we're all in our own way. We all have these areas that we know about and are good at, and other people aren't. That's what makes us as a whole really strong. Because I don't need to know how to tile a roof or run a farm or things like that. And I probably couldn't even if I tried. But there's other things that I can do. And that's what makes us strong. Diversity, not just one person knowing everything. He said would. I did say would. You got me. You got me. Like how Dapper Dino is not a linguist. He's not a linguist? Do you mean he's not a I'm not a polyglot, okay? If you do know that word. I am not a polyglot, okay? I only know one language, and it's Australian. All right, mate? All right, Cobber?
What we see today, people are very selfish today, and people have just kind of gone into error. I think of the verse that says, all we like sheep have gone astray. So the Lord, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. So
yeah, and I think that's a bad message. Sort of this whole idea that we are sheep, we are slaves to God, we are a harvest is the other one that they apparently use, which is just a terrible sort of metaphor for humanity. You know, just sheep. I don't know what their obsession is with treating everybody like livestock. I find it horrible. I really find it horrible. But what I don't do is say, hey, there shouldn't be any Christian clubs because this guy thinks that we're sheep. Okay, this Christian thinks we're sheep, so therefore let's stop Bible clubs, after-school Bible clubs. No, they're welcome to them. But I think that other religions should be able to do them as well, and if they're doing a good job.
He was a very humble man, and I believe that we should try our best to be
how dare
full of
I?
humility, just
How
like our
dare I?
Savior. And the Book of Satan, Book of Lucifer, Satanic Bible, it all promotes the notion that we should be proud, and that is not going to help our society.
It's not promoting arrogance, it's promoting pride, which is a sense of self-worth. And that is a good thing for children to have. It is good for them to understand humility. It is a good thing to understand self-worth and have a self-esteem. And that's one of my biggest problems with Christianity. They just some of the Christian denominations, some of the Christian churches destroy people's self-esteem in an effort to get them to rely on God and rely on Jesus and become beholden to this idea of I'm only got value if I do the God things. I think it's harmful. I think it's dangerous. But I wouldn't say, oh, you can't have after-school clubs because these people are doing this. No, I wouldn't say that.
Aleister Crowley, he said, this guy, you can look him up. He's kind of a creepy character.
Yeah, I would agree. He was kind of a creepy character. He had some weird notions of magic and sort of that woo kind of stuff. But again, Aleister Crowley, not part of the Satanic Temple, so he is not what we are talking about when we're talking about after-school satanic clubs. We're talking about the Satanic Temple. But of course, Matt either doesn't know that, he's ignorant, or he doesn't care of the difference.
He said, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. So whatever you want to do, go ahead and do it. Just whatever you want to do. That is said, and we should not be teaching kids to do that. We'll zip over to the live chat here. Somebody says, watching from Ireland. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. Oops. I got to start figuring this all out. It's been so long since I've gone live, folks. So
I wonder what happened to Matt. I mean, I wonder what happened to him. I find it hard to wish him well because of the awful stuff that he's said. He really has promoted a lot of harm towards people. But, this is yet another example of I will judge him by what he's doing, not what Christians in general believe. And I know that he believes in taking science out of the classroom and replacing it with a religion. And that is harmful.
Just bear with me here. Hopefully the quality is okay. Like I said earlier, I use Starlink, so it...
Oh, you're a slave to Elon Musk, you poor fool. You poor fool. He's got you. Elon's got you. Look, I've said my opinion of Starlink. I think it sucks, but hey. Mostly because of the ping, the response time.
I've heard that it can drop, the live stream. So this is kind of more of a test, but I also just want to be a blessing to you guys here tonight. Let me come over here. And if you guys, like I said earlier, if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them in the live chat, and I'll try to get to them as quick as I can. Let me see if I can pull this slideshow back up here that I put together.
Yeah, like I said, he either doesn't, he either is ignorant and doesn't understand, or he is dishonest and is just misrepresenting it. Because yes, it's yeah, it doesn't mean do whatever you want. Yeah. And even if it did, he's still talking about the Church of Satan and not the Satanic Temple, and it's the Satanic Temple doing the after-school classes, and they reject the Satanic Bible completely. They're not followers of Anton LaVey.
Obviously, I'm not sharing it out. I will do that at some point in the future, in future videos, but this is more of just a test run. So, like I said, SatanCon is coming to school. So it would be a good idea to, if you're in the school system, to open the Satanic Bible, show the school board the vile things within it, and get that nonsense out of your school. It's not going to help your school. We need to get evolution by natural selection.
Well, thank you. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Zarayavog? Zarayavog? So, I mean, this is the AI overview, so do take that with a grain of salt, but it does say, and I didn't know this, basically, do what thou wilt is it's a tenet of Thelema, which is slightly different again. It was a spiritual system. It's not in the Satanic Bible, right? Like, it's part of Thelema, which is slightly different. It means individuals should discover and follow their true will, like a higher purpose, rather than mere ego-driven desires. Right, so it's basically saying, find your authentic, your true and genuine purpose for yourself, rather than just going, well, I want this, you know, my ego wants this. Right, yeah, and it's Thelema, yep, absolutely correct, absolutely correct. So thanks for bringing my attention towards that. Yeah, absolutely, you're 100% right. And even if it was Anton LaVey, right? Even if it was in the Satanic Bible, which it's not, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean just do what, you know, you see something that you want, just go and take it. That's not what it means. It means find your true and higher calling in for the will kind of thing. Like, it doesn't mean what he thinks it means. And even if it did, they aren't teaching the Church of Satan in these clubs. They're teaching the practices of the Satanic Temple, which is different. So there is just errors all the way down with Matt Powell. It's absolutely crazy.
Out of the school as well. It is totally ludicrous. The assertion that we descended from fish, once again, is totally ludicrous, and it is not wise. The Bible tells us there is a man.
No, wise is following the science to whatever conclusion that it leads to, because it is the best way currently to find the truth. If you want to stack any methodology up against science, any methodology you want, I'll stack it against science and see how much results that it produces. Like, you do not want to go down the route of saying, hey, faith gets you better results. And so, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Science is without a doubt the best way of finding the truth of the world around us. And that is where the evidence leads. Sorry, Matt, it's just where the evidence leads. And you can sort of go, well, my Bible and God coulda and all of this stuff, it doesn't point to your Bible. It doesn't point to 6,000 years. It points to evolution. That's why it's science.
And a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. And so can you imagine if everybody lived by what Aleister Crowley said, where he said that do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, just whatever you want to do.
Yeah, if people were sort of finding their true calling instead of ego-driven desires, it wouldn't be too bad. Fractally wrong. Oh, I like that. Yeah. I do like that.
Imagine if everyone lived like that. We would have a very chaotic world. And I understand that that's not in the Satanic Bible, but a lot of people at SatanCon look up to Aleister Crowley. He's one of the leaders.
No, they don't. No, they don't. No, not a lot of people at SatanCon look up to Crowley. Aleister Crowley. No. No, it's like a figure in history. They don't look up to him. It's, you know, he has a place in the history of the organization. You know, especially the Satanic Temple. They don't look up to him, no.
Leading Satanists in the world. He was one until he had passed away. Yeah, and there's some other things that I would get into, but for sake of time, I don't want to take too much more of your guys' time here tonight. Mr. Crowley. So he also said, "Be goodly, therefore, dress ye all in fine apparel, eat rich foods, and drink sweet wines, and wines that foam."
Yeah, well, it's not wine specifically. Like, if you don't like wine, that's not what he's saying. He's not talking about specific. He's just saying enjoy your life. Like, have an enjoyment of your life. That's all he's saying.
So Mr. Crowley suggested that we should all just drink a bunch of alcohol, but
that's not the meaning of the message, sir. It's sort of saying, hey, enjoy your life however you enjoy it. If you like snowboarding, go snowboarding. Enjoy it. You know, enjoy the moment. A lot of it is just, hey, you only have one life, so enjoy the life that you have. There's no problem with that. He's not saying, you know, binge drink tonight, bitches. That's not what the guy's saying. Like, this is so wild. It's so wild.
2.6 million people die every year from alcohol.
Okay, so is Islam right when they say, you know, people shouldn't drink alcohol? Because Christianity doesn't say don't drink alcohol. In fact, there was a water into wine story that I remember. You know, like I do remember a water into wine story of Jesus getting people drunk. Just saying. It doesn't tell people not to drink, and the Quran does. It tells people to abstain from alcohol. So does that make the Quran correct? No.
Related injuries. So should we be encouraging people to drink wines that foam? I don't think so. I don't think that you should be giving your neighbor drink. The Bible says, woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink, right?
Woe unto... Didn't Jesus give his neighbors drink? Didn't Jesus do that? So woe unto Jesus? Jesus is breaking the... What are we talking about here? Bible on drinking. Avoid drunkenness? Well, that's fair. That's fair. Amos says, drinking wine from your own vineyard is a sign of God's blessing. Isaiah encourages, come buy wine and milk without money and without cost. Okay, so basically skipping out on the bar tab is what... I don't know what that's saying. Ephesians is Paul. He condemns drunkenness, but it doesn't say don't drink, right? Yeah, and yeah, even Jesus drank upon occasion. Yeah, so you know, I think that moderation is key. I don't see really them saying, hey, get furiously drunk. And plus, the verse isn't saying drink. It's saying wear nice clothes, enjoy your life, do fun stuff, enjoy the life you have.
I also think of smoking. A lot of Satanists believe that it's great to smoke a joint or cigarettes, but smoking is very harmful for you. And if you're a Christian and you smoke...
it depends on the Satanist, to be honest with you. I mean, if the Satanic Temple and one of their tenets was go with the latest scientific knowledge, we know that it's bad for you, so they wouldn't endorse it. So I think that, I mean, I wonder if he's ever met a Satanist, to be honest with you. Some of them do, sure. It's not something they promote in the religion. Can I just add that a lot of Christians smoke as well? Is that, you know, wow.
God bless you. I care for you. I'm not trying to judge you or make you feel bad, but it does have consequences to it. If you can get off of it, that would be amazing for your own health's sake and for your spiritual walk's sake, because
Well, I think that a Satanist would say the same. You know, it's really bad for your health. If you can get off it, that would be great. I think a Satanist would say exactly the same thing. They would give the, you know, as one of the tenets of the Satanic Church, you know, the latest scientific information is what they follow. So why wouldn't they say that? So I don't understand. Well, I don't understand what it's got to do with evolution, number one, and I don't understand why some Satanist smoking promotes smoking within the religion when Christians smoke as well. And you're saying, oh, well, I don't judge you, but it'd be great if you can get off it. Satanists probably think the same, right? They don't want their friend to get emphysema and end up in hospital. Like, what? Wow.
Smoking actually turns your lungs black. If you look at a smoker's lung, just Google sometime, smoker's lungs, you will be really grossed out because...
Yeah, some do, yeah, some do. There's other people, strangely enough, they smoke all their lives and don't seem to have a detriment from it. But it does increase the risk. And so what I kind of point towards with these behaviors is the risk factor, right? Like whether we should allow something or not is really whether there is an inherent high risk of harm during it. Like that's usually why we prohibit certain behaviors. For instance, you can drive wherever you want. You know, you can drive, you know, the risk of speeding, it puts a high risk of something harmful happening, right? So if you're drinking alcohol moderately and you're not, you know, an alcoholic, the risk is not that high, right? Like it's not this, oh, well, you're going to get cirrhosis of the liver and die kind of thing. The risk is relatively low. But what Satanism and sort of secular areas promotes is you have responsibility for that. You are the one that's going to have to live with the consequences. So if you do decide to smoke, there is risks to that and you have to accept them, right? So you have problems with you know, your black lungs, yet you kind of brought that on yourself by what you chose. But there's also a lot of different factors. There's addiction, for instance. Like, I don't know anybody that smokes that goes to people, oh, you should smoke, it's great. Maybe Andrew Wilson, I don't know. That guy's weird. But, you know, almost every smoker goes, no, don't smoke. It's not worth it. It's risky behavior. So we will evaluate things on whether we should allow them on the risk involved in doing them. Now, honestly, if I was to make one drug in our society legal, it would not be alcohol and it would not be nicotine. It would probably be weed, to be honest with you, because the risks associated with that aren't that high. Nobody has ever died from an overdose of THC, the active ingredient, or any cannabinoid. Nobody, not one person in the history has ever died from it. There's still risk, right? And some people don't like me to say this, but if you are prone, if you do have the genetics and a certain disposition towards psychosis, cannabinoids can activate that within a certain segment of the population. So there is still a risk involved, but it's, you know, you can get alcohol poisoning and die. People frequently do. You can get emphysema, lung cancer with smoking. People do, and they die. There is much higher risks associated with them. But, you know, our society, alcohol is legal. Smoking is legal. In my state, cannabis isn't. So, you know, I disagree with it, but all of it has risk. All of it. There's no part where it doesn't have risk. It's like snowboarding that I mentioned earlier. There's a risk of breaking a bone. Should we stop people from doing it? No, the risk is not that high. And people take on that risk. They say, hey, I understand that I could break a bone. I still want to go snowboarding. And I say, have at it. Go for it. Enjoy your life. Do it. But if you're going to go, well, I'm not going to take on any risk. I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to smoke. I'm not going to. Well, why do you drive your car? There's a risk that you might get into an accident. Should we prevent people from doing that? No, that one's totally fine, right? Like, this is the thing. We don't automatically stop people because there is a risk. If they accept it and they're not harming other people, that is fine. That it's their risk to take. If it's unreasonably high risk to their person and it's doing a lot of damage, then that may be something that we stop. Right? Like, that may be something we say, hey, the risk is way too high. But it's not, this whole thing of, oh, alcohol, they promote alcohol. No, they don't. They just say, don't let the risks outweigh enjoying your life. Don't paralyze yourself in your life by not taking any risk whatsoever, because all you will do is sit and live in fear. It would be a horrible life. There's always risk. What we try to do is minimize those risks and go in with our eyes open and mitigate the risk and accept the risk that we have to take. Right? Look, I've done some incredibly risky behavior. I have, for instance, swum in the middle of the night in a thunderstorm in the ocean. Right? It's not the greatest idea. I'll admit that. But it was my risk to take. And I wouldn't recommend, right? It's one thing that I'd say, hey, don't do that. It's incredibly dangerous. But it was my risk to take. Okay, it just was. Yeah, that's my opinion on that. Detroit, Kelly, you absolute champion of the people. You're awesome. Commentator, message, 1 more month achieved, another month to go. Woohoo! Absolutely. I think I've given out all of my memberships. Yeah, Kelly. Whoop, whoop. Absolutely. Okay, back to Powell. That annoys me. Look, if you go through your life not taking any risk, like, seriously, what a horrible life that would be, because everything has risk involved. There's nothing that doesn't. It just doesn't. And so, being aware of risk and reasonable and rational about it is what we try to do, because there is no way to get a completely unrisky life. It's just not a thing. It's not a thing.
Their lungs are completely black. And of course, you have to smoke for a little while to get them that way, but still, if smoking is going to turn your lungs black over time, you probably shouldn't even be dabbling with it at all. And a preacher said one time, and I love.
Yeah, but that's like saying, well, if over time, being a fanatic Christian's going to turn you into a psychotic wreck, then you shouldn't dabble with it at all. Like, this is sort of the black and white thinking that he's going down, and that's a fallacy. It's either, somebody does it and they're going to, or it's kind of a slippery slope. If somebody like smokes a little, they're just going to end up in this place, like completely addicted and things like that. That is not the case, okay? Lots of people have tried weed or tried smoking and then just said, not for me, right? It's this whole idea of, and that's not to say you should try, right? But some people, I was addicted to cigarettes when I tried smoking. Like, I went, oh, I want to try it. Not a great decision, I will say that, but it was my choice to make. That is what they're talking with autonomy. And I got off of cigarettes as well. So it doesn't mean just because you try smoking, you're definitely going to end up with black lung. No, that's not what anybody is saying. But there is a risk, right? If you start smoking, there is a risk that you cannot get off of it because it is addictive. So this is just a parody of an actual, what somebody would sort of talk about when it comes to the risks of smoking or the risks of drinking. He's like, oh, you sip a bit and then suddenly you're an alcoholic. That is not how anything works. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. Be rational and reasonable, though, and understand the risks when you go in, right? That's what we want, understanding the risks. And there's stuff out there, there's hard drugs and stuff that there is a ton of risks to even trying them. They are horrendously addictive. We can't just go, oh, well, I'll just try. Drinking,
this, that if you're trying to tell people how to escape hell, you don't want to smell like you came from there, right? So you don't want to smell like you came from a fiery place. My son and I and my wife and
Why? I think that if somebody like, what is he saying? That if you smoke, you're going to smell like you come from hell, and then you can't convince anybody to avoid hell. I think I would take the word of someone who's been to hell and can tell me it's bad than someone who has never even seen it and they're telling me it's bad. Right? Who would you believe? The person that had been to hell or the person that had heard about hell through a book? I think I know which one would be more persuasive to me. That analogy doesn't make sense for multiple reasons.
We were all in Romania not too long ago, and my son saw some people that were smoking at the airport. And he asked me, he said, "Daddy, what are all these people doing with sticks that have fire on the ends of them?" And I thought that that was a really good way to put it. You're literally breathing in fumes from a fire when you are smoking. Not
What? Does your child not know? I wonder how old this child is. I don't know, but you've never taught them that smoking is bad or what it is? How are they supposed to make a decision when they're older on whether they want to smoke if they don't even know what it is? I worry for this man. I really do.
Good idea. But according to Aleister Crowley, drink a lot of wine, do whatever you want, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Again, there's a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. And like I suggested earlier, and I stand by it and I will not back down on it, Satanism is harming our kids. It should not be in schools.
No, it's not. It's actually helping them in schools. You have a lot of children that are alienated, that don't believe in God, that are bullied by others, and the Satanists, without judgment, accept them, deal with the negative emotions that the Christians try to make them suppress, which never works, right? You have these emotions and you go, no, I don't feel that. I'm not going to feel it because that is ungodly. That is the worst thing you can do because, in my opinion, that when you try to suppress emotions, they will just come back with force. They want to be acknowledged. They have to be dealt with. And these people are doing a fantastic job of taking the people that the Christians have left by the roadside, the ones that they don't care about because they don't believe in God, and saying, hey, you're accepted here. Talk about your feelings. Talk about what's bothering you. We accept you. Come into this space where you will have people around you. They socialize them. They're doing a fantastic job in picking up the people that the Christians don't bother with because they don't believe in God. That is nothing but good. That is nothing but good.
Over by where I'm at in Clare County, they're trying to bring this into the school system.
Yeah.
And I believe that it should be put to a swift stop.
Yeah, because we want to support kids that aren't, have after school activities, have a group they can safely socialize in, without telling them they need to believe in Jesus or they need to accept these tenets, or telling them that if they're gay, there's something wrong with them. They're providing a safe space for the non-Christians and the others, the gay people, the trans people, the lovely, wonderful people out there who are ostracized from normal society. Because they were ostracized from normal society. They understand what it means. And to talk about their feelings and accept them, deal with them, start thinking rationally about them, rather than, oh, I'm going to praise God and hope that my erection goes away. I mean, come on. That they talk to them about consent. They talk to them about, being a upstanding member of society. They talk to them about self-respect and self-esteem. and pride for who they are and the things that they have done well and helped others. They take pride. I don't see any of that as bad. I would rather that than somebody who is gay going into the Jesus club and being told that that's Satan. They shouldn't be, they shouldn't have pride in the work that they've done or the people that they've helped. But really, the only reason they are disgusting sinners, and the only reason they can have any worth is because God tells them and forgives them. Okay, one of those is a good message, and it's not the Christian one. Now, I'm not saying that all Christian clubs do that, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that does happen to young children in some of these clubs, and you can read all about it online. It's depressing.
People should not be bringing Satanism into the schools for kids at all. It can hurt people.
So can Christianity. Christianity can hurt people.
Not going to help anyone. Now, this is also interesting. Satanists believe, or at least the Satanic Bible suggests, that you should hate your enemies. You know how Jesus said, love your enemies? Mm-hmm. Well, the Satanic Bible says to hate people. It says on page 32 and 33, hate your enemies with a whole heart. If a man smite you on the cheek, smash him on the other. Smite him.
Yeah. That's what it says. Now, I don't necessarily believe in this. I think hate's a very strong word. I would suggest that hating people isn't a good idea because you're still emotionally tying yourself to that person. You're still sort of getting caught up in that. You still have a relationship with them. I think that if you are, if you do have an enemy, the best thing you can do is just have them in contempt. Like, just basically say, well, you're not even worth my time. You're not worth my time. That doesn't mean I love them. I don't think you should love your enemies either, because that, there is that sort of, I don't think it's a real thing, but that Stockholm syndrome of, I love them. I'm still connected to them. I still want to, I think that's terrible, because then you're violating some of your boundaries in order for this unreasonable love of somebody that doesn't deserve it from you. I think that that's unreasonable as well. I don't hate my enemies because that's another emotional tie, and I don't want to be emotionally tied to my enemies. I'd rather just go, I hold them in contempt. I don't have time for them. I don't want to know them. That's how I deal with it. Am I saying that's right for other people? No. But I think that both approaches of hate thy enemy and love thy enemy doesn't work for me. That I don't hate my enemy. I don't love my enemy. My enemy is not worthy of my time. I don't have any, but that's the thing. Like, people go, why are you doing this show? Because Christianity is not my enemy. Okay. There's certain people that, I would say, hey, they're my enemy, but, I don't love them. Matt Powell's my enemy. Do I love him? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Hip and thigh. For self-preservation is the highest law. Notice the wording, self-preservation. It's all about the self.
Yeah, and I've said before, if somebody attacks you, the whole idea of Christianity, which is let them, is a really terrible idea. I don't hold with that either. I think you should be defending yourself at that point. I think that if somebody does smack you in the side of the face, you should hit them back with all you've got, fight however you can. Because if they're like committing assault and battery against you, it's very nice to think, oh, well, if you just, show your other cheek, they're going to stop. Sometimes that is not true. Okay, people have not fought back and died. That is 100% not true. I don't think that's a good situation at all. I think that if somebody attacks you, you should fight back. But, there's many ways that people react to it. And, hey, freeze and fawn is definitely one of them.
Survival of the fittest, cursed are the weak, it suggests earlier on.
Okay, so survival of the fittest doesn't mean what he thinks. He equates fittest with strength. and that is not the case. Survival of the fittest means most adapted to the environment around you. Okay, so sometimes being very small and very weak is actually an advantage, right? When the Chilixicob, the meteor hit, the dinosaurs were too big, too mighty. They couldn't survive the winter that came after. It was either a volcanic winter or because of the meteorite, and they died. While the small and weak creatures, mammals that could burrow, were the ones to survive. Okay, it doesn't mean what he thinks it means. It doesn't, like, he is so ignorant on everything, but especially evolution. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
That I mentioned in this video. The Satanic Bible literally says that the weak are cursed. It is all about blessed be the strong. They're suggesting that survival of the fittest is a good thing. But
well, it's more prescriptive in the Satanic Bible. It sort of says be strong because you don't want to be the weak. I'm not sure that it says, hey, pick on the weak. I think it says, you know, sort of do not disrespect those who respect you. So if there's weak people, you respect them. You don't, you know, it's sort of saying, hey, if you allow yourself to be weak, you are cursed because you're not strong and people will take advantage of you. It's not prescribing the strong to oppress the weak. It's more a don't be weak. But I don't agree with that because I think some people have no choice. It's just their circumstances. So I really, and plus this isn't being taught in Bible school, by the way, or you know, satanic after school programs, by the way.
As Christians, we really want to help people who are weak. We want to support the weak, as the Bible says, and help those who have struggled in life to get better. I think that's the golden standard of our Christian faith. And I believe,
well, that may be true, but generally Christians will help the weak as long as they're Christians, right? Like they'll go out and offer food to people in exchange for a sermon or a prayer or something like that. They will sort of say, we'll be Christian and we'll give you food. Like, I think the ACA might have been Matt Della, might have been somebody else, but they said basically you're holding a sandwich hostage for their belief in God. And I do agree. I think that they will help the weak as long as they approve. Because when you sort of talk about some of these ostracized groups like gay people and trans people and, you know, some of these groups that are non-Christian and they don't like them and they are in trouble, they are being harmed, suddenly they don't care about the weak. They don't give a crap about those people. They're not helping them. They're basically saying, hey, they're doing satanic things. Suddenly, you don't care about the weak at that point. So I don't think that's a thing.
everybody should try to live by that value. So again, he said, self-preservation is the highest law. That's what it says in the Satanic Bible. It literally says, hate people. Should we be bringing this into schools? Is this really rational? Dear principal or dear teacher or dear school associate, school board? It is not reasonable to bring this into the public school system. It will turn our kids into savages.
Yeah, it's not being brought into the public school system. So at the very start, as I made clear, the Satanic Temple is the one that's going and starting clubs after school for those people that want an alternative to Christian clubs. It is the Church of Satan that believes in this book, right? They're two completely different things. Okay, it would be like me saying, well, Matt, Christians talk in tongues and they handle poisonous snakes. We shouldn't be bringing that into the schools, right? So we've got to get Christianity out of the schools. You would say, Matt would say, but that's not my denomination. That's a completely different part of Christianity, and that's not being brought into the school clubs. Yes, correct. The same is true here. Okay? It's a completely different denomination of Satanism, and that stuff that you've mentioned isn't being brought into it because they don't believe in it. Okay, just like it's the Pentecostals that do the snake handling and, you know, talking in tongues and stuff. That's not being brought into the schools because that's different part of Christianity, and it's not the Well, as far as I know, it's not the Pentecostals doing the after-school clubs. I think it's more the Catholics and the Baptists and things like that. It's kind of silly that you've got these beliefs that aren't even shared by the people that you're talking about, and then you're saying, well, they'll bring that into the school because these other people believe in it. No, not at all. It would be like saying, oh, they're bringing in the eating wafers and drinking a sip of wine, which the Catholics do, but the school, that they're not bringing that into the after school class. They're not taking wine to it to give people the blood of Christ. Like, seriously, my guy, you've got to stop doing this.
It is a savage, false idea that the book of Satan, or these books within Luciferianism even, are good for kids, because they're not. You might paint it up and make it look real friendly and put little emojis on your little Satan flags to try to make it look good for kids, but it is not.
Yeah, I don't think the Bible's good for kids either. Have you read the Bible? It's horrific. It's horrific. Kids getting torn apart by she-bears? It's brutal. Slavery in the Bible? Just the stuff in it is horrendous. Hitting kids with rods? Appalling.
It is only going to harm the minds of children. And that's why I have this channel and I make these videos, because I don't want people to be tricked into believing things that are...
Well, why don't we evaluate it by how it affects the kids rather than by some nebulous idea of what you think happens, right? Like, it's kind of like conversion therapy, which Matt Powell supports, by the way. We don't just go, well, that's good because it's Christian. No, it harms children because we see the trauma that's imposed upon them through the process. It's traumatic. So I am advocating, I'm not sitting here advocating, well, we've got to take out Christian clubs. No, I'm saying we should evaluate these things by whether they help the children or harm the children. That's what I'm advocating for. So we're not just going, hey, all Christian clubs should be allowed and all Satan clubs not be allowed. What I'm saying is, if those Christian clubs help children, sure. And if those harm children, no. Doesn't it seem a bit more reasonable to do that rather than just say, hey, Christian good, Satanism bad?
It's just not true. Aleister Crowley said this: I was not content to believe in a personal devil and serve him. I wanted to get a hold of him personally and become his chief of staff. How wild is that? That's from the Confessions of Aleister Crowley, chapter 5.
So what? Wouldn't you like to be Jesus' chief of staff? It's just this sort of, oh, Satan automatically bad. I don't believe in Satan either. I don't think it's a real thing. I think that most of Aleister Crowley was sort of part of Themelina and Thelemina. I can never pronounce that word. It's basically a school of the Church of Satan. He was never part of the Satanic Temple. Okay, that's a different thing. And this is the problem. He doesn't understand what he's talking about.
So he said he literally wanted to get a hold of Satan and have a personal relationship with the devil. You should not promote Satanism to your kids. Aleister Crowley, once again, he was one of the leading Satanists.
Well, you want a personal relationship with God, and I don't remember Satan drowning the world, committing mass genocide. I don't remember that in the Bible, but I do remember God doing that. So we've really got to ask, what did Satan do in the Bible that was so evil? Right? What did he do that was so evil? And I'm asking this as a serious question. What did he do that was... He basically disobeyed God. That was the massively evil thing he should do. But, I will point out that God genocided the world. Just saying.
Back in the 1900s, the earlier 1900s. Bible says, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. I think about how we often shine the light of the Word of God, or at least we try to at university. And people say that what we're doing is spreading hate or dark.
Yeah, so the people that I've noticed that are calling evil good are mostly apologists. Like, you will point out the slaughter of the Amalekites or the Midianites, right? And sort of point out how they went in and slaughtered all of the men and all of the boys and all of the infants of the Midianites, and then they took the untouched young girls for themselves, right? And that was commanded by God. And apologists will go, well, that wasn't evil because God commanded it, it's good. And you have to say, are you high? Like, people went in, committed genocide, and then abducted all of their young girls who were virgins for themselves, and you're saying that was good, and it was a good command by God. I just have to say, are you freaking high? Because if that happened to you, you would not be calling it good in any way. Like, it is insane, the atrocities that Christian people are calling good because of some unknown eventuality further down the road that we can't see. No, it is horrible, it's evil, it is terrible. There is nothing good about it.
Darkness. But if you look at what they're doing, they are spreading darkness to others. They are hurting other people with their crazy ideologies. They can't even tell us what a woman is. So they're confusing kids by saying, oh, well, we really don't know. We don't want to judge. We don't want to make any calls about.
We can tell you what a woman is. Okay, it's a person displaying the secondary sexual characteristics of a woman within society, of a female in society. So he's going to go on a trans rant. So if you are sensitive to that, caution. If you're not up for it, totally understand. Matt is a complete bigot and a complete arsehole. I don't know what the trans have to do with Satanism, except, and here's the thing, except that people in these Satanism clubs are accepting trans people for who they are, who they want to be. They're making them comfortable. They're giving them acceptance within society and preventing them from either doing some self-harm or being a wreck of a person. So the interesting thing is that Matt says, oh, as Christians, we care about our fellow humans and, you know, love them and things like that. Yet they will be rejected from Christian clubs. They will be picked on by the Christians. And Matt drives that. He says, you know, these people have to stop their evil, get them out kind of thing. So, in fact, Satanism clubs are giving them a place where they can find people who will love them and respect them and give them that social interaction that we all need. And that's really valuable. But Matt doesn't think so. He thinks they should be cast out of society. He was promoting at one point for them to being locked up. And the question then comes, you see the massive self-exit rate of these people because they're not accepted, they're ostracized, they're bullied, they're insulted, so many bad things happen to them. And Matt wants to say, that's fine. I don't have a solution, but that's fine. I remember one Christian saying, oh, it's a self-correcting problem. But it's not, is it? Because trans people are still around, even though they've been vilified over the entirety of history. They're still around. So it's not correcting, is it? And, you know, we're giving them a place where they can feel proud of themselves, feel some love for themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. That's really good. You know, so look, unless you're willing to accept these people and accept them fully and value them as humans in your Christian clubs, then you can fuck off with trying to get rid of the clubs that are accepting them, because they're doing so much good work for these people.
What a woman is. Well, dictionary definition of a woman is an adult biological female.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. And he got the definition of pride wrong for a start. He got the definition of a pride wrong. And adult female is the most common definition, right? But when we're looking, another definition is social or cultural roles. Okay, so we use a different word in biology than we do in general conversation, right? So one is talking about sex, which is female, that is the sexual characteristics. Or I might add, though, even that's fuzzy when you get into intersex people and people that have female traits, even though they may not sort of be intersex. For some reason, their body has produced some female traits. It happens. An increase in estrogen can do this, an increase in certain things. But generally, you're talking, when you're saying female, about, you know, the biology of it, the X chromosome thing. But even that gets fuzzy. I will say that. Biology is messy. It's complicated. Intersex people exist. Accept it. Okay? It just is. Like, the amount of intersex people is roughly around the amount of people with red hair. You wouldn't say, well, red hair people are just an outlier. No, they definitely exist, okay? But generally what we're talking about when talking about a woman in a sociology context is just the secondary, somebody presenting with the secondary sexual characteristics. So, sort of, you know, the breasts. Guys can have breasts. They're man boobs. Definitely can exist. Doesn't make him a woman. There's other characteristics which have nothing to do with biology, like wearing a dress, long hair. They're not exclusively pointers to this gender identity, but they are things that we recognize. A real fun exercise is asking, like, if you see what you think is a woman on the street, how do you identify her as a woman? Right? And watch them go, oh, the chromosomes. Oh, so you look at their chromosomes? No, of course they don't. Of course they don't. Because that's biology and not gender. A good analogy I've found is that the biological status, or the birth status, like the chromosomal thing, is like the place where you were born. Right? So I was born in Australia. I am also an Australian citizen. I'm an Australian, right? But that doesn't mean, like, you have to be born in Australia to be Australian. Someone may have been born in China and then moved over to Australia, right? So their circumstances change. That doesn't mean that they will suddenly be not from China, right? And if I move to China, I will have been born in Australia, but I identify as Chinese because I am part of that nation. That is very similar to how gender, which is the nationality, and sex, which is the birthplace, works. Like, you know, that is essentially how it works. That they are different things. Right? I'm born in Australia, but I can move to America, I can move to this, I can move to that, and that makes me more comfortable. And there's also biological reasons behind it. We have found a tendency for people's brains, in certain areas of their brain, when they look at a cis male and they look at a transgender man, their brains are actually similar, that this area of their brain is similar. And we're sort of doing a lot of research on what is it in the brain that causes you to identify with either a man or a woman, even though that may not be male or female, or your birth sex may not be male or female. And it's really fascinating because you can see this, they have to take into account that everybody's brains are different, right? They're all different. But generally, like statistically, there's a higher preponderance of trans women to have this section of their brain more like biological female. That doesn't mean we can just say, hey, your brain is like this, you're automatically this gender. No, it doesn't work like that. But there is a preponderance for this to be different. Now, the thing that we don't know and we're trying to investigate is whether it is a product of genetics, right? Like it's a product of how you grow, or whether it's a product of environment, like what hormones you get when you're growing up, like how you develop. We don't know that. Okay, we just don't know. But because it is a neurological problem, it is a problem of how your brain actually physically is, we can't change that, right? We can't change neurology. It's impossible, right? You can't just change somebody's brain to something different. It's not possible. You know, it's like me saying I'm on the autism spectrum. You know, it's a function of my neurology. I'm just going to change it. No. What we have to do is we have to manage it because we can't change the neurology. So your brain is like physically leads you to be trans. We can't change the structure of your brain. What we have to do is accommodate you so you don't feel completely and utterly alienated from this gender that you're supposed to identify with. Because we can't change the brain. It's like autism. We can't change the brain. We've got to manage how autistic people interact with the world so that they can function. Same is true of trans people. Okay? And to me, if you care about kids, to me, just saying, well, we're going to continue to treat these people with a gender they don't identify with and just let them die is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. And we don't have many options. The option where we go, hey, you just have the opposite biological sex as part of your brain, right? That's telling you that you're this sex, even though your cis sexuality, you may not be born like that. They can't do anything about it. So the only way we can cope with it is say, hey, we acknowledge you as this gender, you present like that in society, and you feel comfortable in the gender that you're in, and it saves people's lives. And don't come to me saying, oh, well, just let them do whatever, and then say that you care about people. Because if you cared about these kids, you would save them, not just let them suffer until they end in some way. It's not cool. It's not right. And it's not a matter of, well, I just want to choose this. No, it is a matter of neurology. So get it right. Sorry for that rant. I do feel very strongly about it. And look, trying to associate transgender people with Satanism is really crap. It's a really shitty thing to do. But Matt's a really shitty person. You know, he's trying to associate it. The only thing that it has with Satanism is that while Christians abandon trans people, Satanists try to save them. And I'm not saying all Satanists, some don't, but the Satanic Temple is trying to save them, trying to let them live a happy and healthy life. Maybe you should look at yourself, Matt, why you don't want these children to have a happy and healthy life.
That is what a woman is. But you ask people today, you ask 10 different Democrats or 10 different Satanists or atheists, they're all going to give you 10 different answers. They don't even know how to define what a woman is. And
yeah, that's because words have usages. Okay, words have usages. They're not defined. They're not prescriptive. It's not like, okay, this is what a woman is. That's what it has to be. No, words have usages, and the way that they're used is different. You know, they're all different. But as far as we can tell, woman and womanly is a measure of society and its expectations rather than anything that is actually objective, right? Like when we say, oh, that guy is very feminine, right? We're not talking about the junk between his legs. We're not talking about his chromosomes. We're not talking about his sexuality. We're talking about something else. So how do you have, oh, well, that man is a bit womanly or that woman is a bit manly without that being a thing? What does that mean then? So yeah, we don't. It's stupid.
They are hurting the population. They're hurting other people with their false ideas. And we believe in America that we have freedom of speech, but it doesn't mean that we as Christians should just be silent about the harm that is caused by SatanCon and Satan Club and by transgenderism and by abortion and so on and so forth. There's a lot of bad ideas out there. Look, when I die, if the Lord tarries and I'm placed in the ground, let's say 1,000 years pass by, right? Or maybe even like 200 years. My body would probably be nothing but bones in 200 years. And they would be able to tell that I was a male based on my bones.
You don't know where the stats for people with red hair? Well, just statistics. It's about 1 to 2%, which is the same amount. I know it's not a good comparison. I'm not trying to compare sort of the two genetically or anything like that. I'm just saying that, hey, it's about the same percentage, roughly. Like, I'm not saying it's exactly or whatever. I'm just saying roughly it's the same percentage. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that necessarily being trans is a function of genetics, like obviously being redhead is. We don't know that part. Okay, that's a lot more fuzzy. We're not 100% sure, but we do know it's neurological. But one of the things we have learned over time is that it's not just genetics that affects your neurology, right? It is a function of development when you're growing up as well, right? Like, it is a lot of different factors going into it. So neurology is complex. If you have a trauma when younger, the development of your brain gets affected, and that can lead to a different neurology. It's so complicated, and it's not just simplified. What are they delusional about, Big Nick? What are they delusional about exactly? So the question becomes, well, if you're claiming that trans people are delusional, what are they actually delusional about is the question. Okay? That's the question. So answer that. So if you don't know, delusion is having a distorted perception upon reality, right? So you think that something in the world around you is different than what it actually is, whether that be my friend is trying to kill me, or this is this, or this is that, what is happening there, right? Okay, there is, what are they delusional about? Okay, what are they delusional about? Maybe you can answer that. Because if you're going to say, well, they think they're female, no, they don't. No, they do not. No trans person ever thinks that they were born female. So that's not a delusion. Okay, they're not saying, hey, I have the private parts of a person born as a female, so therefore I'm female. No. So they're not delusional about that. Like that they were born as a female. No, they're not delusional about that. They know that they were born of the opposite sex to the gender that they identify with. So no, they're not delusional about that. So you may say, and some trans people do have gender dysphoria. Oh boy, yeah, so if you're talking about gender, if I identify as a male gender, how can you tell that I'm male? They don't think they can become female like sort of, they know they can't change their genetics. They know they can't change anything, sort of to do with that kind of stuff. It's that they do not feel comfortable in the social role, which is the gender, is the social role, right? When we say that person is a woman, we're not looking at their genetics. We're not looking at their junk. We're not going and, pulling their pants down. We're saying that person has certain traits that we associate with being female. And what I'm telling you is that trans people's brains have a propensity to, like they have generally, they are structured in, I can't remember the section of the brain, but they're structured in a way that if a neurologist looked at it, they would say almost certainly this person would be female, when they're not. Don't feel comfortable. Yeah, no, I would agree. I think not feeling comfortable is no reason to tell people that they have to wear certain things or behave in certain ways, or tell them they have to pretend like they are a gender when they're not comfortable with it. Yeah, your discomfort over trans people and your bigotry and sort of, transphobia does not mean you get to tell them what to do. You're right. You're right. Because it's really just your discomfort, isn't it, Nick? It's just your discomfort, right? You're just uncomfortable with it. So you want to tell people not only what they can say, but also what they can wear, how to act, and what they accept about themselves. Ridiculous, right?
Structure. Anything that I believed about my gender, anything that I thought or came up with as far as an idea about what I thought that I was, wouldn't be valid. It's in our DNA, whether we are male or female. And the Bible says that male and female created he, them. So in the book of Genesis, God lays out the difference between man and woman. And you have to think about the fact that...
Yeah, why should we care about your Bible? Why should we care about your Bible? Yes, he lays out the difference between man and woman. I don't notice Jesus putting anything in there about intersex people. Right? Intersex people. Like, you do have people because of, say, a testosterone resistance. Right? They will be XY chromosome, yet they will have all the body parts of a woman. But Jesus didn't mention that one, did he? It's almost like Jesus didn't understand biology, because even though gender is a spectrum, it does seem like, sex is actually a spectrum as well, right? The amount of testosterone you get while developing really does determine whether you're a boy or a girl. Like, you're trying to make something that's complex into this incredibly simplistic idea, and I'm just telling you, that's not the case. That's not the case. There are women with testicles, and they might not even be on the outside of their body. They might be inside their body.
Genesis chapter 1 is under attack.
Really? Really? You bitch in the side thing, and then you're like, when did I announce my discomfort? Wow, okay, yeah, no, just now, yeah, absolutely. I get you. The Bible shows how to live a righteous... Yeah, I don't believe in a God. You've got to prove the God before you have a righteous life in the eyes of the God. You guys all disagree on what God wants, so it doesn't even... there's a million other people that disagree with you on that, and they're still Christians, Big Nick. What methodology do you have for showing that your interpretation of that way to live is correct?
The creation story is under attack, but...
Yeah, and it's really weird, Maya, and it's great to see you. Maya bosses me around, but I love it. Look, the big question is, why does God appear to be going around putting female brains in males and making them uncomfortable? Why is that? Why does some sections of people who were born male, for all, like, a neurologist would swear that is a female part in that brain. Like, why is he doing that? Just for shits and giggles, for fun? I don't know. I'd like to get an answer.
Also, people are trying to contradict and debunk male and female. They're trying to debunk...
No one's trying to debunk male and female. No, we're just looking at the biology and realizing that male and female is not as simple as we first thought it was. that intersex people exist. They are, like I said, 1 to 2% of the population. They're not even that rare, right? You get a city with 25 million people in it, right? There's going to be like 250,000 intersex people in it. It's not a small amount. It's not. It's wild, but it's not. And accepting these people and, giving them a way to express themselves is the most important thing.
They'll even go as far as to try to refute basic biology just because they don't like what the Bible says.
No, it's not that I don't like. The Bible's got some good things in it. It's got some bad things as well. We're not taking the Bible as a scientific document. It's not like we're going, hey, we have to refute that the world is 6 days old. It's just we're doing science, finding stuff out and going, hey, it doesn't match up with this Bible. It just doesn't. It's happy here that sort of wants to go, well, the Bible says it, so it has to be true in the face of all available evidence around you. And we don't have that necessary thing. But that in no way means that we can't have a place for people from the Satanic Temple helping out kids after school. I don't get the problem.
This is so funny. The book of Lucifer says, the first step to becoming a god is to recognize that you are one. Good grief. And you want to teach that to kids? Like I've always said, if you have to wake up one day and think that maybe you're a god, you're definitely not a god.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Satanic Temple has a very different idea. I think that it sort of says that humans collectively are what we're calling God, but it's more philosophical ideology than sort of a straight out, hey, there is a God kind of thing. I don't know. I think that also he's, applying. I don't have a problem with people going, hey, there's panpsychism, that we're all in the mind of a god. There's pantheism, which is, hey, the universe is God. There's all these different ideas. I don't see why I would be like, oh, well, I feel like he's taking a shot at the Mormons here, because the Mormons think that you're going to become a god on your own planet kind of thing.
So crazy. Bible tells us about...
Well, no. Crazy is thinking that you have to accept the death of some random carpenter as your savior because a talking snake convinced a woman to eat a magic fruit. That's crazy. Okay, that is insane.
People who worship the creature rather than the creator. So anyways, I hope that this video has been a blessing to you. I'm going to look at the live chat real briefly and see.
It has not been a blessing to anybody, Matt. To anybody. I might stick for the live chat if you do want more. But yeah, Matt's he's completely missed the point. He doesn't understand Satanism. He doesn't understand what the Satanic Temple as opposed to the Church of Satan are doing in these after-school clubs. He doesn't understand the position that some of these kids are in when they're rejected from the Christian clubs kind of thing. He really doesn't understand anything at all. He just wants people to be Christian and doesn't give a crap at the fallout he causes by doing so.
If anything sticks out, opinion on Trump possibly being the Antichrist? I don't think he's the Antichrist. Is there a chance? Maybe, but I don't personally think that he is the Antichrist. He's made some Antichrist claims lately and said some wild things, but
he definitely has said some wild things. It was funny where he put a golden idol in his club, like a golden statue of himself. And like the pastors that support him have to say, "Oh, it's not a golden idol. It's not like the golden calf." It's like, are you serious right now? Like seriously? It's wild, right? It's wild. But
I don't think he's the literal Antichrist. I think that that's probably another person. Smoking.
Yeah, you don't understand gender. You don't understand gender as opposed to sex. You don't understand it, which is sad for you because you just don't understand it. Like I gave you the analogy, like I am Australian by birth, right? I'm Australian by birth. I can go and become Chinese, right? So sex is like the birthplace and gender is like the nationality, right? I can go over to China, become culturally Chinese, speak Chinese. There's no problem with it. I'm presenting as Chinese. That's my nationality. It doesn't mean I was ever born in China. I'm always going to be born in Australia. That doesn't mean that Australians can't become Chinese. Yes, they can, you idiot.
Is not good, period. Amen. Christian 11. You are right. All right.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say he's I don't believe in an antichrist. I don't believe in a Christ for there to be an antichrist. But I will say that, hey, a lot of Christians support him even though his values seem to be against what they've spoken out about, right? Like, you know, this guy, he does things that all of his supporters say are unchristian and they still support him. It baffles me.
Let's see here. It's 3 a.m. here. Good night. God bless, brothers and sisters. Oh, my goodness. You had better get some sleep.
Sleep is for the weak.
Thanks for tuning in, though, Nathan. God bless you. Why not give all of that service and self to God instead? Amen. Amen.
Because they're never going to be accepted as who they are with the Christians. There's a lot of Christians that aren't accepted for being Christians. Like, I don't, you know, the service for God. Like, you know, you may think you're serving God. You don't seem to be. You seem to be serving a church. Because God doesn't actually get anything from you that I can tell. You're not donating to God. You're donating to the church.
Christian, I think that that is what brings fulfillment in life, is if we actually give our service to the Lord. We dedicate our lives to Christ because he can use us, and that will bring us true joy. I think of that acronym for joy. My mom always shared it with me growing up. Jesus, others, you, right? J-O-Y. Joy.
Yeah, I don't see why you need to do Jesus. And might I add that the Satanic Temple are doing service to their community and other people, so others, right? And they're getting a great deal of joy out of it. So who are you to say? Like, I don't doubt that having service to your community, your fellow humans, you know, other people, you know, that's very satisfying, yes, and it gives you great joy. Sure, I just don't know why I have to have an imaginary friend first. I don't know why that is.
That's how you get fulfillment in life. You first follow what Jesus has for you. You set your mind on the needs of others, and then you worry about yourself after that. But in Satanism, it is all about the self. Self-love, self-preservation is the highest law, according to Anton LaVey. And so in closing, if you are a public school teacher, or if you are working in the school system, I would suggest, if this garbage is coming to your town, which it probably is, it's probably going to be in your school sooner than...
Sure, I would welcome it. I would absolutely welcome it. Anything to help the young people who are not Christian and feel like they need a place to go. I would certainly like that. I would like that. Because not everything can revolve around Christianity, because there's people that aren't Christian and people that will never be accepted by Christians. So,
and later, because Satanists are pushing this really hard today, make sure to mention this information to them. And my message to schools across America is that we need to stop teaching kids that we all descended from slime and fish.
Nobody is teaching kids that, right? Slime and fish, no. It's called a prokaryote. Eukaryote, right? Mammal, you know, vertebrate. These are actual words. It's just a straw man. It's just a, you know, gloss over. Oh, it's slime. No, we don't know that. We don't know that. You're just being very, very dishonest. Like when you describe it, all you're doing is a straw man.
We need to start telling people that they were created by God, that God loves them, that he has a plan for their lives, and that Christianity is true. Now, I know that in school, you got to kind of keep things neutral, but ultimately...
It's not neutral. It's not neutral. Okay, so the question is, should Christianity be in schools as an education? Sure, theology class, there's a place for it. It's in theology, right? It's not in science. Okay, this is the thing. Stop trying to get your religion put into science, because it's not science. Science has a process that you guys don't follow. There's a process to it. And what you guys want to do, instead of going through the scientific process and getting that accepted, you want to pressure people into putting pressure on the schools to accept something in science. That is not how it works, right? If I go, I want aliens in the school, I don't just get people to pressure the school. I've got to actually demonstrate it with scientific principles. This has been thoroughly outlined in our methodologies. And these guys just want to circumvent it because they don't have scientific evidence for anything they're saying. They don't. Did you just raid, Bree? If you did, thank you so much for the raid. If not, all good. Welcome.
We should have the 10 Commandments put back on the wall. I believe that.
Really? 10 Commandments? You know, so some kid who's having the crap kicked out of them by their parents will see, thou shalt honor thy mother and father. Yeah, that's exactly what, you're a genius, Matt. That's exactly what that child needs to see when they're being abused. Absolutely. No, that's a bad suggestion, right? I am the Lord your God, there are no other gods than me. Well, that's directly antithetical to religious freedom. The same freedom that you are taking advantage of by getting your Jesus clubs. Okay, it's religious freedom. It's wild. It's wild that he thinks that these should be on the wall. Thou shalt not work on the Sabbath. Really? So the janitor cleaning the school on a Sunday can see that? Fantastic. You're a thinker, aren't you, Matt? You're a thinker. Wow. I
believe that if you're going to teach evolution, you should at least have the what's a good word? The integrity to teach creation as well. You should. No, we don't teach pseudoscience in our science. We don't go, hey, we're going to teach biology and we're also going to teach spirit science, right? Like, no, we don't say, oh, we're going to teach, physics and we're also going to teach flat earth. No, we don't do that. We teach scientific principles, and evolution is a scientific principle. We don't just teach whatever someone thinks is right. This is absolute nonsense. Like, if you want creationism to be taught in science, in the class of science, right? People teaching science, put papers out, get them peer reviewed, get them accepted into mainstream science, and then they'll be parted to the curriculum. That's how it works. Don't sit there and go, oh, well, we've got to teach, crystals in our home economics class because we need all sides. Get out of here, Matt. That's not what he means. He means I want Christianity in schools and what I believe in schools, regardless of how supported it is in science or not. No, we ain't doing that. Stop it. Stop it. We're not teaching, relativity and the electric universe, because the electric universe has nothing to support it scientifically. Okay, you may really, really believe it. It's got nothing to support him scientifically. Be able to teach two sides and say, all right, here's two theories of origins. And if you are on the fence.
Oh, you think janitors don't work on a Saturday either, Nick? You think that's the case? It kind of moved, didn't it? Because Sunday's the day that you'll go to church and, set it aside for worship. But it was the Jewish people that thought it was Saturday. I am very aware at what the Sabbath was back in the Jewish day, but you guys more stick to Sunday in Christianity. That's your day of worship. Fun facts.
So if you're a Darwinist or a Satanist and you've tuned into this and you're on the fence about any of this, I would suggest going back in time and on this channel or even on different channels. There's Answers in Genesis that does a great job of debunking evolution. And also on my channel, I've got a lot of different debates.
No, they don't do a good job of debunking evolution. They do a good job of casting doubt on the science without actually being able to back up what they're saying. I have debated these people. They don't have anything to bring. It's all God of the gaps. God could have done that. God could have done this. It's wrong because I misunderstand evolution. He didn't even know about evolution. He didn't even know that evolution, survival of the fittest, is not the strong. He doesn't even know that. I mean, there is no better way to tell me I know nothing about evolution without saying, well, it's survival of the strongest. At that point, that person needs to go back to school and needs to 100% study evolution if they want to talk about it, because that is not correct.
That I have done with different people, and some of those have been with Darwinian evolutionists. And I've refuted Darwinian evolution live in those debates, and you can see that. You can see how their arguments break down. And
well, yeah, that's true, but at the same time, you know, don't be a dick in the comments, I think, is the #1 rule. If you are being a dick in the comments, see you later. This is my channel. I don't go, well, you know, you're coming in and being an absolute cock in the channels, I'm just going to sit aside. Actions have consequences. And here we treat people with respect, regardless of your views on gender. And respecting somebody is basically treating them not how you would want to be treated, but how they want to be treated. Treating them with respect means, hey, you want to be called a certain way or gendered a certain way? I will do that because it is good for your well-being. That is what we do here. So you can be a dick all you want. You're not going to last long if you do. I don't expect you to agree. I expect you to not be a dick. And I don't know why it bothers you so much. These people don't bother you. They don't do anything to you. They're not harming you in any way. That's the thing. While the opposite is actually true. They're being harmed by people who are denying their identity. That is harmful.
Crumble in the face of science. And so I believe that those could help you. And again, if you are on the fence, if you are somebody that is seeking the truth, I'm here to tell you that the truth is very obvious.
Well, no, it's not an objective category. But in sociology, there are, like, we're talking about sociology here. Okay, it's referred to as a soft science because it studies the interactions between people, social stuff, right? Like, just because they term something doesn't mean that, you know, it's objective. No one's saying it's objective, right? But what is objective is that they have a lower social status within that place. Like, that is categorically true. I don't know why you're sort of taking this sort of, oh, but people aren't oppressed. Really? Really? Holy crap.
Yes. It is obvious that we descended from a man and a woman.
Look, Nick, I don't know if God is harmful or not. I know that the Christians are. Not all of them. Some are absolutely fine. Some of them are really harmful towards people. Really harmful. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that parents that basically throw their children out onto the streets because they're gay are not harmful. Like, if you're serious about that, then you need to check yourself.
Woman. And it's obvious that Jesus was a real historical figure who actually died and was buried and rose again. And in fact, I believe Christianity is so obviously true that God has to hold people accountable for rejecting such a truth.
Yeah, so the one way you know that people don't have any evidence for what they're saying is they say, oh, it's so obviously true. Look at the trees. Yeah, no, we don't do that in science, okay? We don't just say, well, something's obviously true, so it's true. No, I mean, I remember doing a paper in scientific communication, and this is just as a student, right? I'm not publishing it, it's just a paper. It was basically examining left-handed versus right-handed versus ambidextrous people and confirming what we already know to be true. It's called a replication study, right? Like, I'm basically going, hey, you know, it turns out that people who are right-handed have a greater dexterity with their right hand and, you know, lesser dexterity with their left hand, and all the evidence to back it up, right? And that's obvious to everybody. I grant you that's obvious, right? But it is that question everything, then come up with the actual evidence for. How do we get evidence for that? Well, we do a series of studies on people who identify as left-handed and right-handed, and what percentage of shots they make with pieces of paper into a basket, and then compare that and do a statistical analysis on it. I know it seems silly that, hey, we're going back to say left-handed people are more dexterous with their left hand, something that seems obvious. But this is what science does. It replicates and then confirms things. Not through, well, it's obvious, but through actual scientific testing, right? And that's what we did. It wasn't so we could publish it. It's to learn the methodology, to learn how we do it, to learn how we actually show this to be true scientifically. Okay, that's what it's for. But, you know, Jesus died on the cross. How do we show that scientifically? We can't. There's no way. And in fact, a lot of the evidence points against it. That we know from Roman culture and reasons why people got crucified. A lot of it is against it. But it's a matter of faith that these people say it happened. And then they want us to change our science, which is using a reliable methodology, on their faith, which is an unreliable methodology.
Truth as the Christian faith. I believe that's why hell exists, is because of people that hurt others, people that are axe murderers and criminals. They will be dealt with by God. And so I hope this video has been a blessing to you. I feel like I've rambled a little bit here, so I apologize. It is so good to see those of you who have been in the live chat here tonight. It says here, I'm thinking about religion, says, hey, just to let you know, there is a buzz and your volume will randomly go from normal to back.
Yeah, your audio is shocking, mate. His audio is shocking. It's terrible.
Yeah, sorry. This mic, I think, has some problems. Eventually, I'm going to have to get a better mic because this thing just really isn't cutting it. But yeah, by the way, thinking about religion, I love your videos. I know your channel is small, but I think your videos are doing great, and you're definitely putting out some good content that is helping people. The guy who runs the channel, I'm not going to give his name just in case he doesn't want that out there, but you should subscribe to him. He does a great job of debunking Mormonism and Jehovah's Witness. And so
yeah, they got a problem with Mormonism. Hey, I got a problem with Mormonism. Everybody's got a problem with Mormonism, but funnily enough, theirs is like, oh, they're heretics. Still believe in Jesus, though. So are they Christian? I don't know. I'm going to call them Christian because they say you're wrong, you say them wrong, and I've got no way to decide the difference. So
love that guy's material. Check him out. Thinking About Religion is the YouTube channel.
Okay, so this syllogism, this sort of semi-syllogism dumped here, God is love. I reject that statement. I reject that statement wholeheartedly. I don't think God is love. Prove that God is love. Prove that God is love, and then we can go on to the rest of it. You started out just, you know, straight out of the gate you fell over. God is love. No, God is the classical God of theism as far as I'm aware, or that's what you're referring to. If God is love, then God is just something mundane. He's just, you know, an attraction and a emotional bond between people that hold, you know, affection for one another. Okay, then God is just a phenomenon. If God is love, okay. If you mean that, you know, the God of the Bible is love, show that. Show that that's what it is. So yeah, you need to prove your statements to start off with. You can't just assume them to be true, because that is a fallacy called begging the question. It's when you basically make an assertion that leads into your premises as true that has not actually been shown to be true. Okay, if you're using God as a metaphor for love, right? That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. It's a metaphor. But metaphors aren't real things. It's just a concept. So, wow. Yes? Yes, people love their dogs. Yes, they're bonded. Sure, aren't dogs people? Don't you think dogs are people? Okay. Wow. Okay. You're weird. You're weird. Sure. People can be bonded to all kinds of things. People can love all kinds of things. Sure. Sure. it's still a metaphor. Like God would be a metaphor then, so it doesn't exist.
All right, folks, I hope you all have a great night. Thank you so much for tuning in. And again, if you're in the public school system, please consider what I'm telling you and consider looking this up. You don't have to just take my word for it. You can fact check this information. And I truly believe that it can be a help to you. God bless.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and that is Matt Powell. You know, what I find hilarious about Matt Powell is he will go on these sort of Satanism, evolution, which has nothing to do with like it's got literally nothing to do with it. When you study evolution, you don't learn about Satan or the devil or Satanism or the satanic thing. You don't. Okay, there's nothing to do with one another. But you know, people like this will always try to vilify and dehumanize that which they don't like. And this is what they do to trans people, gay people, anybody that they disagree with. They dehumanize them by going, oh, they're demons, they're against God's will, they're evil, they're this, they're that. They're just people. They're just people. And what's incredible is he'll then follow it up with, well, I care about people. Then stop being a prick to them. But no, he does want to do that because he's not interested in helping people. He's interested in helping the people in power at his church. And to have Christianity, he's blinded by it. Blinded but to the harms he is doing by just, you know, oh, I've got to take the Bible and do the Bible. Bible has some really bad stuff in it. Satanic Bible, the way this talks about children, like do not harm children, is a lot better than the Christian Bible, which sort of says spare the rod and spoil the child, i.e. hit your children. You know, the message of that one saying only respect people that respect you is a lot better than honor thy mother and father, regardless of what they do. Doesn't matter what they do. Honor them. No, some parents don't deserve to be honored. They're monsters. And for him to go, oh, well, let's put that up in school. So some poor kid being abused by monsters will see, honor thy mother and father. Yeah, you should obey that. No, that child should not honor their mother and father. They should go and get help from somebody who isn't going to give them some black and white, silly premise that came from the Iron Age. And then the authorities should step in to stop that harm from being done. That's what should happen. Oh, sure, yeah, no, they're just people, sure, but people can do harm. People can do harm. Just because I say they're just people, I'm not saying no trans person ever did harm to anybody else, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying evaluate the person by their actions, not the label that they have on them. This is basic humanism. You evaluate, so I evaluate these people vilifying and harming the trans community by the actions they're taking, not just, oh, they're Christian. Like the amount of people we have lost in the trans community because they are absolutely beset is unconscionable, especially children. Unconscionable. And if you want to help them, you can't change their neurology. You can't change their brain activity. We have to accommodate them. That is what every single authority, scientific institution, psychological institution, psychiatric institution has said is the treatment of this problem, to help them. So stop talking like you know what's best for these people, because you don't. You don't know what's best for them. You're in complete disagreement with medical authorities over what's best for them. You have no idea what you're talking about, and you just want to go, well, look at my book. My book says a thing. No one cares. Stop harming people. Stop it. Okay, you're doing active harm to these people, and the statistics back that up. The amount of self-harm, of self-exit coming out of these people When they have proper support networks, that number goes way down because they're not being vilified, ostracized, and abandoned in society. Okay, that goes way down. This isn't just, oh, Mark says a thing because his book says. No, this is scientific studies. And if you want the Bible in science, write a paper that proves it scientifically. Not, oh, my pastor says it's true, so it's true, mate. No. No, you need to do scientific studies. That's what you've got to do. Produce a paper, peer review. Okay, so that's my last word about gender. Gender's very well understood in sociology, in biology. It's very well understood. The fact that you don't like it makes no difference to anybody else. It is the accepted nomenclature for your identity in society. That is basically it. I'm not going to listen to some idiot on the internet. Don't listen to me. Fact check me. Find out what the scientific institutions say that gender is, as opposed to the guy on the pulpit who you happen to like the things he says that it is. Because guaranteed, if you go in and look at gender versus sex in the scientific writings, you will find out quickly that they are different things. Very quickly. Like, why should I take the noise of some random preacher over somebody that studies these things for all of their life? I don't know. I'm not an idiot, I guess. Like, I wouldn't take some random's word that, hey, if you drink until you're unconscious, that's good for your brain. Right? Nobody would think that because the scientific studies show differently. But with this one thing that you're a complete moron on, you want to say, well, I don't agree with the science. Well, show that it's true. Show that it's true. And you can't just point at your book. You can't do that. Because I can point at a book too. I can point at multiple books. How do you find out who's right? What is your methodology for finding out what's right? Well, your methodology is going, I have faith, I believe it, it's true, it's true, it's true, it's true, it's true. That is not a methodology for finding out that's right. That is how to be a drone and a sheep, repeating whatever the man on the altar says. And that's what you're doing. Man on altar says this. It says in my book. No one cares. Nobody gives a shit. Like, it hasn't produced anything useful for society over the last 2,000 years. Like, looking to the book. Has book done penicillin? No. Has book invented anything? No. The Bible hasn't invented anything. Has book created an ability to fly? Has it created any fertilizer in order to feed people? No. It's done two things. Jack and shit. Now, Christians might do things, but they're not getting it from the book. They're not discovering things from the book. It's so ridiculous. And just to sort of say, hey, I'm assuming it's a creation. And so I'm going to assume the Bible is correct. So I'm going to assume that God wants this. No one cares about your assumptions. It is begging the question, a logical fallacy. Show the God, show the book is correct, show that all of this should be considered seriously, and maybe someone will take you seriously. But just yelling it is not the way to do it. It's not the way to do it. You can yell all you like, you're still wrong. Anyway, that's going to be my last word on that. It's so wild that people who aren't being affected in any way by other people are just getting ridiculously up on their high horse about stuff. It's actually pathetic. It's actually pathetic. These people don't harm you in any way, and you're just attacking them. Whereas Christianity does harm people. And if you don't believe me, look at the Christian idiot in the White House today. Yeah, you remember the guy that bombs schools? Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy. Wow, Nick, this is preaching, man. Like, there is no, I don't believe in a God, so I don't believe in hell. Stop, man, or else I'm going to have to ban you. Like, seriously, I'm going to give you a timeout because you're just preaching. Like, if you're starting to lecture people on blasphemy, you're just preaching, and there's no way. Like, seriously, what the hell are you doing? Nobody believes in the God here. I'm going to time you up for 10 minutes. Like, seriously, stop preaching. Stop preaching. Okay, preaching is just basically saying assertion, assertion, assertion. You'll end up in hell, you'll do this, you'll do that. Show that it's correct. Don't just assert it, right? Show that it's correct. Wow. And that's what Matt Powell wants to do. He really wants to just force stuff into science rather than going through the scientific methodologies. It's not done. They know it's not done, but they can't do it any other way. So, you know, they're not following the scientific methodologies. They don't care because the ends justifies the means, right? The ends justifies the means. So they're happy to accept science in physics, in all these other things, and it's the best way to find the truth. But when it comes to the things they object to, they basically go, well, the ends justify the means. I don't hold with it. I think you've got to actually demonstrate that. And I think that science, hands down, is the best way to demonstrate the truth of things. If you don't believe me, then let's put your methodology up against science and see which has the better outcome. Okay, I will take that challenge any day of the week and twice on Sabbath. Absolutely. You cannot hold a candle to the methodology of science. You can't do it. So don't pretend to. No, I don't write people off for what they think. I think people can do a lot of harm in articulating what they think. You know, I think that people can do harm when they say that, say, Christians are evil people that just want to control the world and, you know, do all of this stuff. I've never said that because that's not all Christians. But, you know, just saying something that you think can harm people. Hate speech harms people, and including hate speech against Christians, right? Like, I'm including that. But you want to say, oh, well, I'll be allowed to say anything I want to say, but other people shouldn't. And that's the problem. You don't believe in free speech. You believe in your free speech. Your free speech. Because I'm sure if I was sitting here saying that all Christians are evil, they're just terrible people, they want to take over the world, we've got to stop them by tearing down it, I'm sure you would have a problem with that, right? But no, it's an exception for you. It's terrible. It's terrible. Anyway. Oh boy, it's not a nonsensical concept. It's really not. Anyway, I'm going to close it up there. I think that, you know, the Christians in the chat are absolutely ludicrous. You know, I've never seen a bunch of people who have cried so loudly for free speech and then tried to silence everybody else once they've got power. You know, like they cried about free speech, and then they're trying to take shows off the air and trying to stop story time for people because they've got an objection with it. Like, seriously, what the hell? You don't care about free speech, you care about your speech. That's what you care about. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I will. Oh, I don't think you're an atheist, man. I don't. Okay, maybe you're an atheist. You're not a skeptic. You're not a skeptic. You're not a skeptic. Because skeptics go with the evidence. They proportion their beliefs to the evidence. And so why should we believe the Bible over man and woman kind of thing? Anyway, I will call it there. Don't forget, be kind to yourself. It's okay to have pride in what you do. Just don't let it turn to arrogance. Pride is a sense of satisfaction. It's good to take pride in your work, take pride in your relationships, have that sense of satisfaction that you've achieved something. It's It's really, really, really good. I think that look, watch Robert Sapolsky. He does a really good job on explaining the neurology of this topic. Okay, just watch a little bit of him on this subject, and he explains to you that is physical neurology. It's not about anything else. Like, seriously, just watch it. Be kind to others. You know, like if somebody wants to start an after-school club to help children, why would you be opposed to that except you've got religious bias? That's the only reason. Especially if they're helping other people who your religion won't allow in your after-school club because you expect them to follow the Jesus. You know, this really does seem petty that you have an exclusive club for Christians and then trying to stop anybody else from having anything for the rest of the kids. That just seems petty to me. But anyway, Matt Powell doesn't know anything. Take care of yourself, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
To what new horizons can we look now? Where are tomorrow's opportunities? The frontiers of the future are not on any map. But now, what's ahead of us?